What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Kaulig Nation, your one-stop shop for all things Kaulig Racing, Dinger Nation, SVG Nation, and we are here today not only to hopefully watch the Michigan Xfinity race here together as cars roll off pit road, but we are here to talk about the Kaulig Racing news, the NASCAR. I don't think silly season cuts what's going on right now. So many different factors coming into play in the Cup Series, the Xfinity Series, RFK throwing a wrench into things, which could potentially affect Trackhouse and SVG's plans in 2025. We're going to talk about the NASCAR charter system, all sorts of things on this afternoon stream. If you're joining us, please take a moment to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications to all, share your thoughts in the chat. Whatever NASCAR you want to talk about, we will do our best to get to it. Without further ado, though, if you were here for our Richmond stream, it's the Mr. Holy fucking shit man himself, Ryan. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, Sean. I think that race is going to be very hard to live up to. That was one banger of a start for us on these live streams, but I am super excited to be here. I think this Michigan race is actually going to go green. I was super concerned about the weather today, so I am very excited about that. I hope we get this race in. There's no stops and starts with weather, but it's going to be a very good afternoon. I have a really good feeling about the Kaulig cars today.
As you were saying that, Allmendinger came to a stop on the track and is now, I don't know what's going on, man. Hopefully
he was straightening his wheel.
Okay. Yeah, probably should have done that before leaving pit road. So, interesting. A lot to dive into. So much going on, man. It's HFSM for short, Ryan. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Good stuff, John. I understand it's very, very early where you are right now. So we really appreciate the commitment to you guys and gals out there coming out and joining us. And we'll see what happens here. Passing is, we think it's going to be hard. If you have help from Others, you're going to have a better chance at passing. But I'll tell you what, similar to at Pocono and Indy, man, if you're going to complete one of those quick passes and you don't complete that pass, you might lose 5, 6, 7 spots.
Yeah, I definitely have some concerns when it comes to the Xfinity cars and their drafting. I understand that this is the feeder series, and some of these drivers just don't have the same skill set as the Cup drivers do. And I've noticed in the last few years um, that they just don't draft very well, and they like to get into single file lines and get stretched out, and it's really hard to get any passing going because everybody's in one line. So I'm really hoping that this track's going to be conducive to multiple lanes, multiple wide, allows certain comers and goers. I certainly have some concerns about that. I think passing is going to be really hard, and I think we're going to see a lot of carnage today. So everybody's got to get strapped in and be prepared for that, because we're going to see a lot of drivers doing a lot of dangerous things to get to the front today.
Looks like we're getting ready to go green here already. So they're really trying to get this in.
Yeah, they showed the radar. That looked bad.
No, I think there's a chance to continue after the rain passes. Like the percentages, I was looking at the weather there, aren't unfavorable, but the odds of getting the whole race in one shot are slim to none, which, probably a good time for us to let other people know that Ryan and I are both limited with what we can do here today. We'll do our best to stay with you, but we'll see how it goes as they get ready to go green here. Ryan and I probably aren't lined up. We're probably 15, 20 seconds apart. So if there's any accidents, I will do my best to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, they just got to the start zone for me now. So I don't know where you're at, but the green flag just dropped here. So
they are into turn one.
Yep, you got me by about 15 seconds then, I would say.
That's what I said.
Well, they made it out of turn one without wrecking. That's a start.
I know a lot of people like taking the low line for an attempt to pass, but here early in the race, when there's not a lot of rubber laid down, you want to be in that high line, because if you're in that low lane, you are going to get shuffled back.
Yeah, I can already see the two JGR cars there, Gray and Smith, probably going to lose several spots here because they are kind of off to lunch in the bottom lane. But yeah, it's what I was afraid of. They're already starting to get single filed out, and that's going to be really interesting to see if they were able to actually make some hay. Maybe, as you said, once the rubber gets on the track a little bit, if that'll help the multiple lanes and multiple grooves open up a bit. Look, the RCR car is already making moves there, getting a little out of line, working together pretty well already, which is no surprise. Those Jesse Love and Austin Hill, I don't know what they've done or how they figured it out, but man, they can really draft.
Those RCR cars, just in general, the one thing they've always had the ability to do is just be really good on plate style tracks.
Yeah, it's. I
Which
mean, I
this
give
wasn't that
RCR.
before. This was
It was
something else
Kaulig a few
entirely.
years ago, right? Yeah. Well, I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, because as we know, Kaulig and RCR have a technical alliance. And, 3-4 years ago, the Kaulig cars were the very best drafting cars. And it wouldn't surprise me if we gave them some information that helped get their program turned around, and maybe even to a point where they I think, pretty clearly the best drafting team in the league series at the moment. Yeah, Chandler is still going backwards, by the way, which is exactly what we thought was going to happen here. Is that Chandler? Who's that? Jeb Burton. But
Yeah, Kaulig update is AJ's in 17th, Daniel Dye's in 19th, SVG's in 24th, and Josh Williams is in 33rd. The package I thought worked pretty good at Indy and at Pocono, but early signs here are not good.
well, the one thing about I think Michigan compared to Indy and Pocono is they can more or less run flat out here at Michigan because the turns are so wide. They can really actually turn it into a drafting track, whereas Indy and Pocono have very sharp turns. They actually have to brake, and slow the car down, which I really helped set up passes because, if you have to get through the corners and actually be able to apex the corners, and this track, you really don't have to. It's just foot to the floor and go as fast as you can.
Yeah, this is going to be difficult to pass on. A little bit ahead of you here. It's not really breaking news, but you're going to watch a car step out here, and it doesn't work out well for him.
Oh, yeah, is that Gregson?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but all it takes is one driver to get a bit out of a line, then it breaks up the pack a little bit, and yeah, it opens up some things. But you're right, it's going to be, it's a really dangerous thing to step out of line and do that. But we'll see as the run goes on as well, right? As the tires start to wear a bit more, cars will have to start to lift a little bit more than they are now, which hopefully will open things up just a little bit. But yeah, you can see the dogfighting is pretty intense for these spots, which is a good thing, but they actually have to be able to complete the passes as well.
You're really going to need teammate help here.
Yeah. And for you guys that are in the chat listening to SVG, we're listening to the race broadcast. At least I'm listening to the race broadcast. So if you guys hear anything of substance from the driver or the team, definitely let us know in the chat, and we'll try our best to talk about it. But it's hard to listen to the scanners and the race and talk to y'all here simultaneously.
Yeah, when we do these races, we're basically sacrificing our ability to listen to the in-car cam. But what we can do is offer you some details on how the cars are running, and with this track right now currently and how it's going. If your car's not handling just right, even with the draft, you are going to be in trouble. You don't necessarily have to be the fastest car, but you better have a well handling car.
Yeah, and we're already seeing this. What are we, 10 laps into this race? And, the top 15, 16 cars are within 2 seconds. And then there's a pretty hefty fall off from there. The next, goes from 2 seconds to 5 seconds. And that group, wherever that line is here, once it comes back around on the ticker for me, basically Alfredo down or Burton down, they're in trouble. They're already, they've lost the main group, and they're probably not going to be able to get that track position back, even if they work together. So, this is definitely going to be a tough race for those groups. And I even mentioned earlier, Sean, that I didn't think we'd see a lot of cars go a lap down. But, the bottom of the pack is already a good 15, 16 seconds off pace. And, it wouldn't take long for them to get caught.
So last time around, just to give people an update here, The leader ran a 41.547. Down in 16th, AJ Allmendinger ran a 41.926. So a little less than 4 tenths off of the leader. So the leader is pulling away. Daniel Dye, a 42.075, and he's right behind AJ. SVG ran a 42.365, about 4 tenths slower than AJ. And Josh Williams ran a 42.361, about 4 tenths slower than AJ and Dye. So SVG and Williams, I think, got to dig themselves out of the back area, and it's going to be difficult because, well, you don't have as good of cars back there working with them. So it's going to be a weird race. This feels a little bit more like one of those slow Daytona Talladega races than I thought it was going to.
Well, yeah, and what are we? We're 30 laps in, or 30 laps for this first stage. We're already at 10 laps in. It won't be long till we get to the stage break. Again, this is something we've talked about in the past with strategy, right? That's one thing that I will say that SVG and Bruce were very good at. Would not only were they making good in-race adjustments, but their strategy was always really good. They were able to gain positions, whether it's 2 tire stops or short pitting or whatever they were doing to gain track position. I'm curious to see if that will translate here, and he will be able to move himself forward through a fast pit stops. Because that's definitely going to be the easiest way to pass today, would be on pit road. And I don't know how many opportunities they're going to get to do that. So that's going to be a very big part of the race for the car. Honestly, even AJ down there in 15th, 16th, it's going to be really hard to gain track position on the track. So they'll have to try to make some strategy calls, I think.
Yeah, and you're not. Oh,
I'm still a commercial, so if something just happened, I guess I'll find out when I come
okay.
back.
So yeah, in Canada we get picture in picture. So commercials are there, but we get like a little square that shows us what's going on still. I'm assuming you're seeing now. Are you back?
Nope, still in commercial.
Oh,
Oh, there we go. There it is. Taylor Gray. Is he trying to make a pass? What's going on here? Is it on the bottom lane?
yeah, no, he was attempting to make a pass.
Oh, the weird. Yep, just sucked out from under him.
Yeah, a little under the yellow too. Might have got a little too aggressive there.
Well, I've seen several cars get really loose on that lower lane. So
He got the front left under the yellow, and around he went.
he's lucky he didn't hit anything or nothing. He should be okay. But as we were just saying, he's going to have a hard time working his way back through the field.
Yeah, if he would have backed up into the track there, you're looking at probably 10, 12 car pileup. That could have gotten ugly.
And you see Gregson and Allgaier going up to avoid the wreck. Chandler Smith as well. Well, this does open up some pit strategy, though, right? Now there's 15 laps in the first stage. Do you want to pit now? Come get some tires, maybe top off the fuel tank, stay out at the end of the stage, try to flip the stage a little bit, or do you wait, see if somebody else comes down to pit road and maybe you can gain some position by staying out? Definitely opens up some options here. It's still a lot of laps left in this race, but this could be a pivotal moment, and what strategy will be the right strategy at the end here?
I do wonder how valuable tires are going to be here. Bunch of takers on pit road. The Kaulig collective all down pit road, all 4 of them.
I'm not surprised. I think they're going to have to make some adjustments. It seemed like all of the cars were a little off. Let's see what's 4 tire stop here. It looks like for everybody.
Well, while we're under caution, knock on wood, it looks like AJ might have had a decent stop for once. Um, I don't know if that's because it was 2 tires or 4 tires.
It looks like he was probably one of the first cars down pit road anyway, so maybe he looks like got past Sam Mayer there, gained a spot.
So crazy week, man. A lot going on. As people can probably see, we have some topics listed at the top of our page. Um, it's a lot happened. Silly season kind of turned into psycho season, even. All sorts of things going on, all sorts of things still going on. Um, I think the place to start with here, if you've seen our video earlier, we probably won't spend too much time on this individual because he already got a 40-minute video that was mostly him. But AJ Allmendinger is returning to the Cup Series with Kaulig Racing next year, possibly and beyond. Chris Rice might have tipped his hat on that one and then deleted a tweet that we do have proof of. Um, by fluke. Obviously, you never know when someone's going to delete a tweet. But obviously, a no-brainer move. AJ finished 21st in points last year. Probably should have been 17th or 18th, maybe even in the playoffs. Had it weren't for a few tracks where some self-inflicted error got in the way. But more importantly, he just brings the pace to the Cup car like the other guys don't. Like when you look at the Kaulig Cup lineup this year in the 16, I don't really count SVG. He's very much learning the ovals. But like Josh Williams, when he's in your Cup car, that's with all due respect to Josh, who seems like a fantastic guy, really good teammate. Probably not the scenario you want. Um, Yeah, you had Derek Kraus making starts, and he hasn't even made an Xfinity start for them this year, which tells you something. Um, we've had Ty Dillon. I think that's it, right? It's been Dillon,
It's
Kraus, Williams, and SVG, and then even you take Hemrick in the 31. No one has produced the Cup results that AJ has. And one thing we didn't necessarily talk about in our video that much, man, is one of the pushbacks I've seen, and it's not a pushback for AJ going back up, but it's been should have never gone back down in the first place. I heard Eric Estep say it. I believe Breakard said it. I've seen some reporters say it. And the inconsistency doesn't help Colleague or AJ going up, down, up, down, up, down. And realistically, even though he went down this year into the Xfinity Series, um, that probably set the organization back.
Well, I look at it from this perspective. Last year, I really do think at the beginning of the year in particular, AJ put a ton of pressure on himself, like he always does. That's not new. But I feel like he put a lot more pressure on himself last year, especially the first couple months of the season, to put the organization on his shoulders and bear the weight of making the playoffs and doing these things to help the team move forward. And we saw some of those inconsistencies. We saw some self-inflicted punishments and some wrecks, and he wasn't very happy there for a while. And I just happen to think that kind of played into the long-term decision of sitting him back down. And obviously that wasn't the goal. I really do think they wanted to keep him in Cup. But just the way things fell apart with Justin Haley, Austin Hill, obviously losing your anchor sponsor and Nutrient AG really cost them. So I don't disagree with you. The yin and the yo-yo effect of up, down is not beneficial when they could have had a whole additional year of data if he had stayed in the Cup Series. But it's still the right move. He is the best driver for the team going forward. And I just think that is for him. I really hope that they go into this, especially if he is given, assurances that he'll have not just 1 year, but maybe 2 years, that he will be able to go, because when he just races the car and drives within his own bounds, he is really fast. So I think that's the decision that helped steer the organization forward. And hopefully with Celsius, or maybe even some other sponsors, they are comfortable enough to send him there, and they have the funding to do it. So with that kind of done and locked in, we can worry about the other Cup car and, of course, filling out the Xfinity cars and see where that sends the organization. I do think the organization has taken a step forward the last 2 months, and that has been because AJ's been consistently running the Xfinity and the Cup cars, giving the team the feedback that they've needed to make the right adjustments. So while it's certainly not the best beneficial decision, I think it's been a good thing for the long-term Xfinity side, and additionally going forward the Cup side as well. So we'll see how it plays out. But in the end, I think maybe it all worked out the way it was supposed to.
That might be a little too optimistic for my liking, but I definitely respect it. For those that might not have noticed, Sammy Smith with some massive issues there on the restart. Unfortunate for him because he is going to lose a lot of time. Yeah, he actually did lose a lap. I wasn't sure if he'd be able to. I guess it happened right after the restart, right? So he would have had a ways to go to hit pit road. Yeah, he's already a lap down. So that was a unfortunate beginning of the race for him.
Well, that's a JGR car and now a Junior Motorsports car with trouble, right? Like, that's half the battle with these races is, it's not causing self-inflicted punishment, not, putting yourself in a bad situation. You got to be able to stay in contention in these races. And these are fast cars that are kind of shooting themselves in the foot here. So, yeah, we'll see how it plays out. But I think we know who the best 4 or 5 cars are already, and those Toyotas are damn fast.
Yeah, I wouldn't count out Riley Herbst, though. And we're going to be talking about him in all different ways on this stream here today as we talk about next season. Um, yeah, you know what? We might be seeing a.
Oh, that's interesting. Man, these cars are very on the edge, aren't they, Sean? They don't take a little air off the left rear, and these cars are going around. But yet again, another excellent save by Sheldon Creed there from the lead, no less.
Yeah, no contact. Close, but no contact. They get really close, but he doesn't touch them.
Yeah, Jeff Burton just made a great point about the Toyotas qualifying really fast, but this is the second one to go around, that they are clearly running a low downforce package for that straight line speed, but they are on the razor's edge.
Very interesting. Riley Herbst is at least one of the cars on that team will be taken over next year by Sheldon Creed, who just went around there. But yeah, I understand why people might have thought there was contact there at the beginning, but I didn't see any, man. It just looked like he got close and took the air off.
That's clean. Absolutely. As clean racing. If you want my humble opinion, that's what I really wish the Cup cars were due. This is the part of the racing that, and we talk about this a lot. What separates a Cup car from an Xfinity car, we just watched. What we just saw is the main difference between the two cars. That this Xfinity car is, you can pack the air on the left rear of a car in front of you, take it off their spoiler, get them really loose, move them up the track, spin them out, and you can go and make some passes. You can't really do that in the Cup car. So that, to me, I like seeing these cars on this type of razor's edge, because we just don't see that on Sundays. But I will say this. I think this is going to come up in spades here for AJ. He was able to work his way up to to where is he, a 10th, 11th? Yeah, which was farther up than where he was running prior to the pit stop on lap 16 there. So,
And he's got fresher tires than some of them. Not all those sprint
yeah.
guys did.
Yeah, he should, honestly. I think he's going to be the first car with fresh tires. So that. I mean, obviously, there's only 5 laps to go in the stage. By the time they go green, probably 3, maybe 2. I don't know if he's going to be able to win the stage, but he should be able to make a pretty good run here these last few laps to the front.
Well, we have a commercial again and another caution via a Toyota again. Those Gibbs cars, and hey, experience is something too, right? So we've watched 2 young drivers get around there on their own, really. And when you go young, those are the growing pains that you have to deal with. We were talking about AJ going up to Cup next year. Puts the focus on the 31. If you listen to Bob Pockras, 2 obvious options for obvious reasons are the current driver, Daniel Hemrick, who has support from Circle. It remains unclear to us who Circle's aligned with, him or Kaulig. We might get our answer on that soon, depending on what happens with Hemrick. And then the other option, Ty Dillon. My argument against the Ty Dillon option, though, is he doesn't bring a ton of funding. It'd be one thing if he brought funding, then I'd say, all right, give him a shot. But right now, I think if Ty Dillon's making starts for you, it's not as the full-time driver. And that's not to say he doesn't deserve it over Daniel Hemrick, because if you're taking funding out of the equation, then if I had to pick one or the other next season, I know you might not like this call, I'd pick Ty Dillon based off of what I've seen this year. But I do think that there are other options. I just think it's been musical chairs, right? There's so much going on right now. And when we look at our chart here that we've put together, our little silly season chart, sorry if it doesn't look immaculate, everybody, but this is what I've put out there. We have the potential Cup Series available rides. The Spire 7 is definitely available. The Kaulig 31 is available. The FRM, I have it listed as the 36 because that's what it was last year. We know is available. And then it gets a little dicey because you have 2311, Trackhouse, and RFK, all with possible third charters, and only 2 of the 3 are going to end up with them. So, and until there's anything official on that, we don't know, right? We can say that, it's going to be Trackhouse and RFK, or Trackhouse and 2311, or 2311 and RFK. But guess what? 2 weeks ago, there wasn't a peep about RFK going to a third car. And now all of a sudden you have Adam Stern and others saying it's very likely. Your thoughts from a Kaulig perspective on the 31 here as the restart gets going?
I clicked my unmute and then remuted myself. I understand why Bob is saying Hemrick and Dillon. They are the 2 drivers that have driven for the organization this year. The team is clearly looking for a driver that has funding to help support that ride. That I totally understand that. But when we look at the available free agent drivers, I think there are a lot more options out there that we could choose from. And I do think, you made the comment earlier today on Twitter, why not a Riley Herbst, right? When we look at 3 teams, 2311, Trackhouse, and now RFK, for 2 charters, somebody's going to lose out on that merry-go-round. And, when we look at, where the money is coming from, I think there's a realistic chance that the team that ends without a sponsor, or without a charter, is 2311. Denny Hamlin has said multiple times that until they have a charter agreement, they have no charters at all. And I could see him saying, you know what? We're not going this route this year until we have stability, and we're not going to 3 teams. And that would leave a Riley Herbst kind of looking for a ride. And if we're looking for funding, I would rather take an opportunity with a Riley Herbst. While he is not the best driver I've seen, he's shown a great improvement this year in the Xfinity Series, and he clearly has money. So I would be more inclined to go that direction than anywhere else. But this last lap here is pretty intense. Wow, good for Ryan Sieg. Great move by Sieg there on the last. That would be a great win for him. He's driving a Stuart Haas car, by the way. I don't know if you know that, Sean. That Ryan Sieg is driving a Ford that's prepped by Stuart Haas, so it's not surprising that car's got speed this week.
The Fords are good. Even his brother was in the top 10 there. So the Fords and the Toyotas, Chevys are clearly the ones behind at the moment.
Yeah, I know. I saw AJ was able to get 9th there at the end of the stage. Did a little side drafting against Parker Kligerman. Great little run to the line there. Brandon Jones, pretty impressive. He's kind of been inconsistent this year and driving a junior motorsports Chevy. I think, what did he get? 2nd, 3rd there? So I definitely think Chevys can compete today, but you definitely have to really have a really good setup. But
Apologies there, everybody. Had to mute myself. It is storming here, and I have a 85-pound German Shepherd who is not happy about it. So Brock says we've currently lost our broadcast in New Zealand. Well, we will keep you in the loop. AJ finished P9 in stage 1, so a couple of bonus points for him in that regard. I think he restarted 12th, so he gained 3 spots there. Daniel Dyes sitting in 15th. SVG's moved up 2 spots to 22nd. And Josh Williams, I'm looking for, is up to 19th.
Well, now this is going to be the interesting part, Sean, that because there is a mixed bag of drivers who have pitted and who haven't pitted here. And this is the track position game we've been talking about. I think we're going to see all 4 Kaulig cars stay out here at the end of the stage. A lot of the drivers that finished in the top 10 are going to be making pit stops. And this should help all 4 cars shuffle a lot closer to the front here going into stage 2. So obviously cars behind us are going to have fresher tires. We'll truly see if they how important fresh tires are, or if it's more of a track position race like we think it is. So we'll see how that plays out. But this should be beneficial for us here going into the second stage of this race.
Sounds like some of our friends from across the pond have lost their coverage to MotoGP, which is very unfortunate. We will keep you in the loop as much as we can. I wish I had a better answer for you all on what's happening there. Could be a temporary error, but we are still live over here. They're under yellow.
And I think I just heard the dreaded words precipitation.
It looks like it.
Well, it's definitely going to rain. It's just a matter of how much does the track get. Will they lose the track completely, or will they be able to keep some heat in the track? Because that will definitely play dividends on how long this race might get paused here, because they haven't reached the halfway point. They haven't reached the end of stage 2. So this race is definitely going to have to get restarted at some point, whether that's later today or tomorrow.
We'll see what happens, but there's a light mist right now on the track, and at a track like this, they are, at least they should not attempt to go green. Ask Justin Haley what happens when you do that. Speaking of which, though, man, let's turn our attention back to silly season while we're waiting. You'd brought up the Riley Herbst possibility. I totally understand why Bob is saying Ty Dillon, Daniel Hemrick, Ty Dillon, Daniel Hemrick. It makes sense. It looks like they're going to bring the cars down pit road too, so they're going to put this thing under red despite it being a mist at the moment. That is not a good sign. Yeah, that's unfortunate, and we're a good, we're only quarter way through the race essentially, so they need 26. Is it the end of stage 2 where they call it official, or does it have to be halfway?
Either or, whichever one comes first.
Okay, so yeah, we'll see what happens. Looks like they're gonna get the dryers out there already. There's a system coming through. We could be green again here in an hour or so, hour and a half. We'll see, and we'll stay with you as long as we can. But we do have some other commitments. Yeah, it's I love NASCAR, but at the end of the day, boy, does it blow when we run into rain as often as we do. And nowadays we have some options on short tracks and road courses, but the big mile and a halfs and above, it's just not an option to do anything there.
Yet, I actually think we'll get there. The wet weather tire has proven itself very effective so far, so I definitely think we'll get there, but obviously they're not comfortable doing it yet. So it's definitely unfortunate. I hate it when it rains. It seems like rain follows NASCAR every single week, but the cell looks pretty small. If it's a light green that hits the track, they might not lose it completely, but if it gets a follow-up cell, then they might be in trouble. So, depending here, I understand why they've decided to red flag it, because, you don't want cars on track and it to just unload and downpour on them. Better to have them on pit road. But it doesn't necessarily mean this race is going to be postponed for a long time. It could be a quick little blowover shower, and we could get this thing back again. So, we'll see how that plays out, but this does give us some more time to talk about silly season, right? And I really do feel like the 31 car is wide open. I mean, when we look at the available cars and really start looking at who might be going where, I think we can pretty well safely assume that Justin Haley is going to that 7 car. One of the Smiths, whether it's Zane Smith or Chandler Smith, is going to that 36 car. That means one of those 2 drivers will be looking for a job, right? It seems like Chandler Smith is out at Joe Gibbs Racing. So what does that mean for his future? Now we're looking at Haas is completely full on the Xfinity side. Junior Motorsports appears to be full. They have one ride. They have one ride, but
open. We think we might know who's getting that.
And I think it's the guy that's racing right now for him. Carson Quaffle would make the most sense there. So, there could be an opening for one of the Smiths, whether it's Chandler or Zane, looking for an opportunity. Somebody at Kaulig can come and knock in and say, listen, we might not be your preferred option, but we have a seat. We'd love to give you an opportunity. So, I definitely think there's still some available drivers, whether it is a Riley Herbst or a Smith or even a Burton or a Priest are still looking for rides. So I definitely don't think it's a guarantee that it's going to be Hemrick or Ty Dillon, but I totally understand where Bob is coming from. Those are the most familiar names with the organization. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if either one of them are in that seat. And this is something we talked about on the video the other day. If it comes down to the point where we're looking at Ty Dillon or Daniel Hemrick, I wouldn't be opposed to what we're doing this year, having multiple drivers drive that car to try to give some other drivers opportunities to show that they're, possibly ready to go full-time Cup racing in 2026.
Yeah, for me, I look at it, and the thing that really, stands out to me is you have you're gonna have guys that miss out. Like, just take a look at the names on the right hand side of the screen and the open seats on the left hand side of the screen. Let's dive into this more than just Kaulig. We'll circle back to Kaulig, but there are options here, and make no mistake about it, SVG is more of an option in the 31 today than he was a week ago, publicly anyway. And I'm not against that if that's how the route they have to go. I understand that some fans might not be thrilled as they were expecting a Trackhouse car, but the truth is, in all likelihood, and I'll get Ryan's take on this. So we'll start with SVG. There is definitely an opportunity here where, uh, there's definitely a circumstance where Trackhouse misses out on the charter. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but if you're talking about the teams with the most money, well, I do believe you're right in terms of Danny Hamlin's stance on it, that they could say, you know what, the charter deal's not gone the way we wanted to. We've been the ones fighting NASCAR the most. F this, we're not adding another one. Totally agree with Ryan's point on that. But I also got to sit here and say they're also the ones with the most resources that can go out and buy that third charter. We're talking about a team co-owned by Danny Hamlin and Michael effing Jordan. So if they want the third charter, they can, but it's very possible that, like, again, like, dude, you and I have talked about it before. Look at what Gibbs does with the Xfinity team. It's the highest paying guy gets the ride. And I absolutely believe that Denny operates the same way. He's been in Gibbs for a very long time. So I do think if they're going with a guy like Riley Herbst over Chandler Smith, for me, when I put those two drivers beside one another, I'm saying Chandler Smith is the better driver with the higher upside. But Riley Herbst might have a little bit more funding. However, if it's not to the liking of what Hamlin and Jordan have set, they're not going to do it. You know, so you almost have to pay for that ride for it to become an option. Um, so it's weird. Like, I'm not trying to get people pissed off or upset, but this weird things happened where RFK is apparently more than likely landing a big time sponsor, and to our knowledge JTG is at least going to try to tough it out another year or two. Maybe they can land something else. Maybe they go get a pay to play guy. So it doesn't seem like the charter's coming from there, which it really has three teams battling for two charters, three pretty good teams, might I add, too. And it's an unfortunate situation. The nice thing, though, for SVG fans, is there is a relationship with Kaulig. I don't think Kaulig is going to announce a driver to the 31 car anytime soon. I think that they're in a position where they have to wait. They're not a destination organization. They're not high up on people's radar like they were a couple years ago when they were on the up. Um, but you do have that pre-existing relationship. And make no mistake about it, if Trackhouse wants to put SVG in that 31, he's going to be in that 31 before Daniel Hemrick or Ty Dillon. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to hitch your wagon to Hemrick or Dillon just yet. To me, those are okay, this is an option, but we got to see what plays out with other people first. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, so let's look at this at a high level, right? Like, let's take our zoom and zoom up, and let's look at RFK, 2311, and Trackhouse. And when we set them side by side and say, who's going to have the most, and I know you just touched on this, who's going to have the most money to spend? Which of these organizations has the best, performance right now? And where, when we kind of try to project out the direction of these programs, who has funding, who has the sponsorships. Yeah, and you touched on 2311. They don't need sponsors. They have Michael Jordan. He's a billionaire, but that's how they operate. And Denny Hamlin seems like he has a very good footprint on what he needs from a car, from a sponsor, from a manufacturer. If he wants the third charter and they feel like they're ready for a third charter, they will get a third charter. RFK looks like they just landed Kroger, which is, I didn't actually realize this, but they're the fourth largest retailer in the United States, which is a big deal. That is a multi-billion-dollar organization.
It's a 30 race sponsorship right now. Now,
it
doesn't mean
is.
it's going to be 30 races for them. It might be 22, 24, but either way, they already have sponsors locked up. It absolutely gives them the ability to add a third car,
Yep,
which
it
is
would.
probably why
Yes.
they're in the driver's seat.
Yep, and I agree with that. I think if they truly landed Kroger, they will get that third charter because Kroger is clearly invested in this sport. They are handing out a big check. We talked about this. Denny Hamlin says you need $18 million to run a cup organization. I promise you, Kroger's writing a bigger check than $18 million. Right? And then let's look at Trackhouse. Sure. So Trackhouse clearly is doing quite well themselves. They have a lot of good sponsors. They have a lot of good partners. They are clearly interested in adding a third team. But when you say, okay, Trackhouse, RFK, 2311, and let's say RFK has landed this sponsor or this charter, and let's just say that's off the board, and you're 2311 and your Trackhouse, now all of a sudden this third charter, which might have been $20 million 3 months ago, might be $40 million. That is, the price of this charter just doubled because RFK got in the game. And if you're Trackhouse and you're sitting there like, what do we want to spend our money on? Do we want to spend $40 million on a charter for a long-term investment? I think it's the right play, but maybe they're not quite comfortable doing that. Maybe they are. And then you say, well, let's call up Kaulig. How much would it cost for them to sponsor Shane Van Gisbergen in the 31 for 2025? You could probably create, and they obviously have a good arrangement already with Kaulig. I think you could mathematically say, listen, if we gave you $10 million, we would like to put Shane Van Gisbergen in the 31. Can we make something happen? That is a much better investment short term for Trackhouse than going and spending $40 million to get a charter on top of the $20 million you need to run the team. So I do tend to agree with you. I think the SVG to Kaulig, because of RFK, has gone from about 5% to about 20%. I really do think that it's a much more realistic option for Trackhouse to say, you know what? We'll use Kaulig's other car as our proxy third car. And that's going to be a lot cheaper for us to do that than buy a charter.
Yeah, I think so. This is where I think it gets interesting is if it's okay. So when SVG has run a Kaulig Cup car this year, it's been prepared by Trackhouse. Not that Kaulig doesn't do anything to the car, but that car makes its way over to Trackhouse before it goes to the track. If they're going to do that for a full season, 10 million doesn't cut it. You need to cover the entire season, much like they had to do for SVG's Xfinity year this year. So you kind of nailed it on the head, man. Is all of a sudden you have a charter now that could potentially cost 2 times more, maybe even more than that. Remember, charters last year, 50 million bucks. 50. And then the SHR thing happened, and there was a bunch of them on the market, and all of a sudden it was okay, well, that has kind of tanked the value. All of a sudden, RFK, a team that didn't need to land a big sponsor, lands one of the biggest ones in the sport, and you're going to have one of these two organizations that seemed, 2 weeks ago locked to have Trackhouse with SVG in the third car and 2311 with Riley Herbst. Now one of these two teams are not going to have that. and AJ Allmendinger staying out and is gonna restart very, very high here when we get going back green. Um, yeah, it has thrown a massive sledgehammer into the middle of this silly season. And I know we've been talking about on our videos and with a lot of the people that comment on them how SVG to Trackhouse is a lock, and I really think he was. This just it. No one's seen this coming, right? Like there wasn't people having this out there as a rumor a couple weeks ago, and then the truth is, in my opinion, you're going to have an opportunity to buy another charter from someone a year from now, 2 years from now, even. JTG is in a horrible spot. They might try to tough it out for a year, but they're going to figure out just how hard it is when you go from having your full season covered to what, 4 or 5 races covered. It's not good. Then you start getting into the discount deals. Then you're fighting uphill like Kaulig is. The difference is Matt Kaulig has a infrastructure that allows them to self sponsor a lot of their races, where Brad Doherty really doesn't. Um, and it's just crazy what this has done to the offseason, man.
Yeah, yeah, it has. And I do just want to quickly touch that there is another owner at JTG Doherty. I don't know his name. He's intentionally kept his name off the team. It's not just Brad Doherty. It's Brad Doherty and this other dude who I should have looked up before we went on the show today. But that they have more support there than maybe you might have realized. But still, your point about sponsorship is valid. And they did sign Ricky Stenhouse to a multi-year deal, and he will be in the car next year with whatever that looks like. But yeah, JTG Doherty could be selling a charter within a year or two. Rick Ware could be selling a charter in a year or two. Kaulig could be selling a charter in a year or two, right? Like when we really think about it, there are teams that are potentially going to sell charters in the future. If you don't feel like the deal is right this year, don't take it. But obviously I know they want to and they planned to, and this was probably their best opportunity to get one on the cheap, but they waited, and now we don't know if that's where they're, it's not going to be as cheap as it was, as you said, 2 weeks ago. So, so again, I do definitely think that Trackhouse Kaulig relationship could form into something, and at the end of the day, we could see just Trackhouse buck up and buy the charter and be done with it. There's obviously a lot of things that could happen here in the next month or so. I do want to just quickly,
do know is someone loses out.
Somebody loses out. Yep. In a game of musical chairs, one of these organizations will lose out, and somebody is going to be screwed. So, but quickly, I just want to look at, in the chat, Cindy asked about Kaulig. About Kroger being an RFK sponsor. 23 billion is too much. It's definitely not 23 billion. 23 billion buys you NASCAR. But I do think 23 million is a realistic number for Kroger and RFK. So again, that's a lot of money, and that gives them the opportunity to buy this charter, and I think they probably will.
Yeah, as we get ready to go back green here soon, we'll see how long it lasts for. Hopefully, they haven't rushed this. The thing that puzzles me is a guy you were championing for last year and maybe aren't as high on this year seems to be the name linked to the third car, and that's Ryan Preece, who also brings a little bit of his own funding. I guess not that I question Adam Stern. Like we use guys like Breakhard, Eric Estep, and official NASCAR reporters when we're sourcing things. But if your car is basically funded, Ryan Preece is not the name I'm going for, and yet multiple sources are linking him to it.
Well, first off, Adam Stern is, I think, the most reputable guy in the sport. If he's saying it, it's a lock. The guy knows his stuff, even more so than, I would say, Even Bob Bacchus, I would say Adam Stern is, for anybody that's other sports fans out there. Oh shit! Down goes Austin Hill.
Yep.
Does he come back up the track? Nope, he's
No,
okay.
no, he doesn't. He did a good job keeping it down there.
Wow,
It
that's
looked like
up
he
to
got
third though.
that
Ooh.
looked like he got turned.
He got turned. Yep. The question is, we need to see the replay here. Did he go down to block? I mean, it doesn't matter at the end of the day, but did he get turned or did he block? And hey, listen, if you guys saw my last video, you all know how I feel about Austin Hill. So I'm not heartbroken about Austin Hill getting
Let's
looped
just
around
say
here.
you've had some memorable quotes over the last week.
So that's all right. Here we go. I'm just now seeing the replay here. So let's see what's going on. So Carson Quaffble's below him, which is a young driver that's still figuring his business out. Is that part of this? Does AJ put him 3 wide?
No, he puts himself 3 wide.
So he goes, he tries to go outside of Brandon Jones.
He wrecked himself.
And then AJ's pushing him. Here we go. So does he try to cut across somebody's nose here?
Yeah, he does. It's Quaffle,
right across Riley's nose there. And then into Carson Quaffle. So he wrecked himself.
Yeah, he absolutely wrecked himself. He might be pissed off about it, but that's not the first time this year Austin Hill has wrecked himself.
No, and he's going to blame somebody else. And listen, you want to know why I don't like Austin Hill? He's going to be on his radio bitching about everybody else around him. Carson
Get the record
Quaffle,
button ready, people.
Austin Hill, Riley Herbst. They all fucking wrecked me. No, you fucking jackass. You wrecked yourself. I really do not like his he never takes accountability for anything, and he just completely cut his own nose off there. So
make no mistake, if it wasn't for shenanigans from Austin Hill and RCR, we'd be talking about both Kaulig cars currently being filled next year, and not one. He basically had a handshake deal with Kaulig Racing on a multi-year Cup Series deal, and basically said, F you, I'm staying in Xfinity with RCR this year, which really kind of honestly screwed Kaulig last year.
Yeah, it did. I mean, at the end of the day, he was a RCR driver. He chose to stay at RCR. From a business standpoint, I don't begrudge him for making the decision that he made. But what I don't understand is what he sees for his future. Because we all know Austin Dillon, who I know we haven't touched on him at all today, but he just won last week, albeit in the most disgraceful manner possible.
There's been nothing going on with Austin Dillon, right? Nothing
right?
At all.
But he ain't taking that seat, right? He's not taking Pop's grandson's seat. He's not taking Kyle Busch's seat. I really don't know where he thinks his future is going.
Forces his way out in the next couple of years. I would not rule that out. So probably why RCR wanted him there is to have a kind of like an emergency go-to guy. He wrecked himself. Looks like AJ is up to, they're saying P3. I thought he was 4th, but
it looks like they readjusted him. Oh, you're right. They just moved it from 3rd to 4th.
Wait, 3rd to 4th or 4th to 3rd?
Well, the box keeps. Sorry, what I'm seeing is the scoring box keeps changing. It was 3rd, went to 4th, back to 3rd. So
I guess it's when the yellow came out and where they were on the stupid timing zones.
Yep. I hate those timing loops. But yeah, he goes from all the way up to the top.
I want to highlight a comment in the chat here. Cam says, us SVG fans just need to be patient with the charter deal. We won't know anything until the deal is made official to see where everyone will fit in. I'd say that's why Kaulig hasn't announced 31. That's definitely one of the reasons. One of the things that became a little more clear this week, though, was they have an idea on how much money they're going to get from the new NASCAR charter deal, which is a big thing in terms of planning your roster and your budgeting and stuff like that. Right now, I would say that's thing number 2 at this point. Thing number one at this point has become three, very well off teams competing for two charters. And dare I say, I know Breakhard didn't think that it would go this far, but this is one area where I got to disagree with the guy on is the second RFK landed Kroger. If that has happened, they absolutely become the favorite for the third charter. Like you're talking about a team that now has far more sponsorship commitment for next year than they do available races, and not by a couple, by a significant amount.
Yeah. Yeah, the Build Submarine sponsorship is a huge one. Fast and All still with them. Castrol still with them. They definitely have, and this is a good problem to have, right? They've now got more funding than they have available sponsorship space. So yeah, I definitely see. I don't see a situation if they truly have landed Kroger. And again, when Stern says it, it's happening. So that's happening. They are going to likely get that charter, and that's going to throw the monkey wrench into this whole debate. So, and yes, Cindy says 3-2. He's overpriced charters. Yes, I don't know if they were intentionally waiting to purchase these charters until the charter deal was announced, and I fully understand the line of thinking there. But at least with Front Row Motorsports, they struck when the iron was hot. They said, we want that charter. We're buying it. We're getting it at our price point. And now these other two teams are kind of sitting there. I'm sure they're shaking their heads and going, what the hell just happened? We just got undercut. But now that their charter price has gone up. So but listen, guys, when the teams are fighting for these charters and why they want permanent charters and a bigger piece of the prize pool from NASCAR, this is why, because the value of these charters is what they have to hang their hats on. Being able to sell a charter for 40 million, 50 million, 100 million is how they value their entire organization. So they are very important, and getting your hands on one is crucial to the future of your organization. And AJ starting inside row 1, so we'll see how that plays out.
That was a very bad 3 and 4 for AJ there. He slipped up. Settles in P3, though. I think you're muted, buddy.
Finally, I very rarely get bit by the mute monster, but I definitely did there. Listen, he was third in line. He took the low line restart. It was worth the shot, but settling back into third is okay there. He was damn near clear. Just couldn't quite hold it. Honestly, I think the push behind was 5 or 6 car lengths back that broke up that bottom line. Probably hurt him there, but
yeah, Herbst lost a lot of ground there, and he was the guy pushing him.
Listen, I like having Herbst behind us. I'd like to see that happen again a little bit closer to the end of this race.
And those are two guys that don't necessarily get along all that well.
Let's see.
Things are getting a little dicier here as people realize almost halfway through stage 2, and rain could come. But I gotta tell you, I'm looking at the sky, man, and it looks way more clear than it did earlier.
Well, good. Let's get 15 more laps in, and we'll get this race official. Of course, I want it to go the duration, but this is definitely good to get it halfway. Ooh. Oh, I heard it. Did you hear it? He backed out of it. I'll be honest with you. I don't like that paint scheme. It's really hard to tell that's him.
The SVG one?
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna play spoiler here for you for a second. AJ just stepped out of line, and it's not looking great at the moment.
Well, he had to. He had too much momentum.
Yeah, I thought he was going to complete the pass. That's the thing though with this package here. You can have the momentum, but if you don't slide up in front, like the slide up's dangerous. You could wreck yourself. But if you don't, you're losing 3, 4, 5 spots, like AJ
Yep.
just did.
Yep.
Wow. Eee.
You can definitely see some cars in there. Some cars aren't handling very well. You can see some cars kind of drifting up the track a little bit. But yeah, that Riley Herbst car is fast.
I think Ryan Sieg is holding up some of the field here.
Yeah, you can see Quaffle is getting. I see what you're saying.
He just seems to slide up in the turns a lot. AJ losing a lot of ground.
I tell you what, Herbst is moving forward and kind of put AJ in a bad spot there.
Back to single file now. It's going to be a question of does anyone get loose on turns? We'll see. Most of these guys should have enough fuel to finish the stage. Might be questionable on Sieg and Herbst and a couple of the others there that they just showed. Oh.
Yeah, some of these cars are getting really tight here.
Yeah, wait for it.
Oh, shit!
Yeah.
Fucking Riley Herbst.
Yeah, that was just a bonehead, not clear move, and he just took out a bunch of good race cars.
And Cole Custer, who hasn't had a great day today, but you can never count him out.
Sam
Sam
Mayer's in it.
Mayer.
AJ looked like he
Riley
just
Herbst is
missed
on.
it.
Yeah, Herbst is on. Man, listen, I would not be mad if Riley Herbst joined Kaulig at the
Brandon
cup
Jones
level.
is in it.
But this is the stuff with Riley Herbst that I just don't like. His car was good enough to win this race, and he just wrecked himself for no good ass reason.
Yep.
Just complete amateur hour there.
Just that's a hard hit too.
That's a violent hit, absolutely. Like, I understand, you have to clear yourself. You were just talking about this, Sean. You have to, when you make a move to the inside to make a pass, you have to try to clear yourself up, because if you don't, you're going backwards. I understand what Herbst was trying to do there, but, place and time, right? Place and time.
Yeah, there's a few cars with damage here. Ryan Sieg, Riley Herbst is obviously toast.
How did the one car get jacked up?
Someone
he
comes
cleared
down
that.
and hits. Yeah, someone comes down and hits him. Right there. It's Brandon Jones' teammate. And Custer, yeah, that's
Custer's day's done.
Yeah, just a bunch of good cars gone. AJ
And now even
the
Sieg car is damaged. He's been pretty good. Oh wow, you're right. AJ just scattered out of that.
Yeah, that was just a brain dead, inexperienced move. But hey, when you have funding and you're gonna pay the bills, you get the ride, right?
Well, I'll tell you what, man, this just eliminated all of the Fords. And I honestly thought the Fords were the best car this weekend. Herbst is done. Custer's might be able to continue, but
I don't
he's
know if
just
Kyle cleared it or not. He was running top 10 earlier.
Kyle. Don't we have to
But
worry about Kyle? Kyle's piece. He's not good. But Ryan Sieg is a car that can win this race. Kyle Sieg takes up a seat.
well, Ryan definitely has some front end damage, and Custer, significant front end damage actually.
Yeah,
That's
I think
pretty.
Ryan Sieg's got to again
Yeah,
they should be able to fix that, but the
this is a
downforce is done, right? He's not going to
hard
have
track to like. That's
yeah. So
wow.
and again, guys, to some of the and that's tuned in with us here, downforce in NASCAR is 90% of the sport, and the contours of the bodies and the way they're designed, every minute detail matters, and when you get a big dent in the front end of your nose, you are losing downforce, you're losing speed. So that is definitely going to hinder that car going forward. Even if they bare bond it and put tape on it and even get it smooth, that car is not going to have the same amount of speed as it did before.
Oh, Brandon Jones is really done. This one not really his fault either. Bad day for JRM. Oh, Sam Mayer's done. Not enough to continue. Yeah, this has been a little more like Daytona and Talladega than I would have anticipated, man.
I'm not surprised by that. It's kind of when you listening to the drivers talk before the race today, they all said this race was going to have a lot of chaos, and I think they all played nicely with each other in the first stage like they usually do. But now that we're getting closer to halfway, there's obviously rain in the forecast. People are turning it up a little bit, and now we're seeing a lot more contact.
Oh yeah, this next restart here, if they can get going before the end of the stage, is going. It's probably going to get ugly. I don't think you can pit before the end of the stage.
You cannot. Yeah, you can't. You got to stay out.
If you do, you're throwing away a potential finishing position.
But this is again though. This is one of those deals. Like, are you racing for rain? Or are you racing to win? Because honestly, I don't think any of the Kaulig cars are capable of winning this race based off the speed we're seeing here. I think they got to try to maybe risk some track position, and I wouldn't be opposed to seeing one or all of them pit right here at the end of the stage, because they can get some fresh tires. They will again gain some track position at the end of the stage. As long as it doesn't rain, it'll work out.
I guess what all
Here he
guys pitted.
comes. Oh, Allmendinger stayed out. He juked me. I thought he was coming in.
No, it's the right call to not come in. This could be the end of the race here.
Do we have anybody have a radar? What's the radar looking like? Because obviously it's sunny at the moment, but rain can show up at any second.
Well, we're back under caution, man. Let's take a look at some of these names here we have on the left hand side of the screen. Try to figure out what's going to happen here. I know we got interrupted with the restart there, but in terms of the SVG stuff, we'll get to him momentarily. Look, he's going to be either in the Trackhouse 97 or the Kaulig 31. It's just, as of today, it's way more likely that the 31 has a shot than it did 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Spire 7, we believe that's Justin Haley, which if so, good on him. But he still needs to, he's got to get bought out of a current deal for that to happen. Lots of money changing hands here, and Spire's going to have to do something there if they want him. The nice
Well,
thing
Spire's
is,
not afraid to spend money. It looks. I mean, one thing I'll give Spire over the last 12 to 18 months, they seem to have no shortage of capital. They are spending money left and right. So
yeah, and with a Haley deal, Haley brings very little sponsorship to the table on his own, basically faux. That's it. So you're not buying out very many sponsor races if he's leaving. It's not like the Chandler Smith Xfinity deal where he had 2 years left on his deal and you already had a bunch of committed races on both of those years. Like it was an expensive buyout for Toyota to get Chandler Smith out of Kaulig. Um, sorry, 1 second here. Just saw your message. I'm working from my phone. My laptop died. So, um, but yeah, so like Justin Haley, feel like that is his ride Spire. So, and all the names on the right hand side, by the way, the guys that have stars beside their names are guys that have contracts next year that would need to be bought out of, but have been rumored to be on the move or could be on the move due to logistics anyway. The Colic 31, which we talked on earlier, Bob's reporting Ty Dillon or Daniel Hemrick as the likely two, which they're probably, like we said earlier, that's your emergency guys, right? That's, well, someone's got to drive the car, and one brings a little bit of funding, and on the Hemrick side, we're not too. Hemrick we know does with Poppy Bank. That's a Hemrick sponsor for sure. Um, but you know, outside of that, I really think the Colleague 31, for me, anyways, maybe this is wishful thinking. Maybe the team doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt. Um, but for me, the Colleague 31 probably comes down to who misses out on rides versus Hemrick and Dillon. I don't think it's just Hemrick and Dillon. I think it's you get whatever's left that missed out on rides and then the rest. We'll come back to this after the restart here. We're getting ready to go green again, dude. And this could be the end of the race. We don't know.
yeah, gosh, I hate the commercials here in the U.S. It's ridiculous, but it is what it is. Here we go. Ah, they just started the restart, and then I got a NASCAR commercial. You freaking kidding me?
That's not great because they are about to go green.
All right, they got back to it. Jesus, sometimes, man. Well, now AJ's got Sheldon pushing him, which I don't know how much help he's going to
I
get
don't
with
know.
a Joe Gibbs car on the outside of the front row here. But
I don't know how much I like that.
not as good of a restart for AJ as he did the first time there. We'll see if he can get a push. Well, they got through the corner there. Let's see if he can do anything here in 3 and 4. But here we go. I mean, and we talked about this, over and over again. Here comes Van Gisbergen into the top 10, making moves here. Just quietly working his way forward, making some moves, staying on the outside. Like this is the part about SVG that I always has really impressed me this year, is that every lap, every stage, they're making moves, making the car better. And now he's in position. He's fighting for the top 5 here.
A big part of that is we just lost 4 competitive cars, but the flip side of that is SVG's kept his car clean. If he doesn't have an opportunity to capitalize on something like that. And him and Daniel Dye pushing forward. I don't know where Williams is right now, but yeah, both Dye and SVG pushing
Williams
forward.
is 29th, so yuck. But
Ugh, man, even with dude, I'm running out of excuses for him.
there are no excuses. He's not good. We know what we got there, and it's a paycheck. Like, that's the part where I just say, okay, I understand what his value is, and that's a couple $1,000,000. Yeah, Gray back in P4 after spinning earlier in the race. Yep. And a little bit too, just a name I wanted to mention is Lawless Allen running 10th at the moment in that 15 car, which is Haley Deegan's old car.
Not a good look for her.
No, because Haley and Lawless Allen has never been a very good truck racer. So, age. It looks like SVG just lost some momentum there.
He did. He slipped up the track. He's
4
still
wide.
still in a
What a
fourth
horn.
position right now.
Yeah, that's a hornet's nest. But here comes Allgaier up to 10th. Well, I can tell you the fresh tires definitely matter, right? You can see these guys that came in just a few laps ago marching back to the front. Oh, AJ got tight there. Yeah, that line is not formed very well here. I think we're going to see a pretty boring finish to the stage.
Good point stage for AJ. And that's what he's been doing. He's been just racking up the points over the last 5 or 6 races. Reminds me of what his strategy was with Bruce in that last year before he went cup racing. Just get the
Hey,
points wherever you
listen,
can.
man, this is how we do it, right? Exactly. And when we talk about consistency between SVG and AJ, this is kind of the nuanced part of the conversation that maybe we kind of get into some disagreements with some of you guys, right? That again, I just said it a few minutes ago. What SVG's done to get himself, I think he finished 9th or 10th there in the stage.
No, he
That's
didn't.
did he
He
fall
didn't.
out?
Yeah, he
Even
fell out.
even still, right?
Him
Even
and
still,
Dye
that's
had not good endings there on that last lap. SVG down to 13th from 9th, I believe it was. And Daniel Dye went from 11th to 23rd.
oof, yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely not good. And you lose momentum, you're going backwards. So, but again, like we see that progression from stage 1 to stage 2 and to stage 3, and it is really good to see that from SVG. But this is where AJ's bread and butter is, right? P8 in stage 1, P3 in stage 2, just gathering points, collecting them, putting them in his back pocket, right? Even if the finish of the race we'll see AJ in 6th and SVG in 10th, that's great for both drivers and they're close together at the end of the race, but it's the bucket of points that AJ accumulates through the stages that have really separated him. And just being able to run up front consistently throughout the race, and that's where I would like to see SVG continue to improve, going into the second half of the season here, where we're going back to tracks a second time to see if he can start qualifying closer to the front, start getting those stage points, start getting closer to the front, fighting for top 5s instead of top 10s at the end of the race.
I see some people saying SVG was battling tires. So was AJ. They're both on the same pit strategy right now. So it'll come though. It'll come. Drafting is such a finicky thing. I don't know if any of you guys have tried iRacing, but like Ryan was saying earlier, downforce is such a big thing. Right, here we go, pit road coming up here, and this is where teams make or break their day. You cannot have a bad pit stop here.
Yeah, no speeding, no loose wheels, no uncontrolled tires. This is it.
Not a great pit stop for AJ, that's for sure. He's going with 4 tires. We got some no tire calls here, dude.
Yeah, 15-second stop is definitely not great, but we'll see. Let's see how important tires really are. Again, I personally think track position is much more important. So we'll see. He came in third, and he's going to come out where? Probably outside the top 10.
Just beginning the third stage.
A lot of no tires. You're not kidding there. But again, a lot of teams pitted right before the end of the stage. Right, those are the guys that just took gas. So
Cindy says experience on car placement is key. It is. It is. Like we watched SVG slide up in that last turn there, and earlier the broadcast caught him. He got out of the gas when he shouldn't have. You do that, and you lose so much momentum. It will come. He will get better with time, and I know there's people that think we're too hard on him, specifically that think that I'm too hard on him. I don't think I am at all. I love SVG. Such a character, such a great race car driver. And at the end of the day, Ryan and I are talking about points, but NASCAR does pay to win, right? Like you win and you're in the playoffs. But SVG's without some things going his way is not going to win on an oval right away. Doesn't mean he can't, but he's not going to outright win on speed and skill. He'll win on road courses though, which is great, but that only gets you so far in the playoffs. Um, he will get better. I think racing this year with AJ and being able to learn from him is great because look, hey, AJ was struggling this year and he was getting in wrecks and he's pushing it a bit too hard, and all of a sudden he's been racking up the points. Um, Consistency is absolutely a thing. I got to tell you, this restart's going to be something because we got guys that stayed out. We got guys that pitted and had 0 tires. We got 4 or 5 guys on 2 tires, and the rest of the field on 4 tires. Um, I hope I'm not calling it here, but would not be shocked if we see a wreck on this restart. Well, we're waiting for the restart though. Let's go back over the teams, man. We talked about the Kaulig 31, how we believe Ty Dillon or Daniel Hemrick are probably your emergency options. Oh, we're gonna be restarting sooner than I thought. Let's talk about that FRM ride. Do you think it's a Smith? Like
I do think it's a Smith. Which one? I don't know, but I do think it's a Smith.
I will say it's the Smith or Riley Herbst. I'm not closing the door on Riley Herbst there because he's run with them. I know that's not a name that gets linked in Bob's articles, but at the end of the day, they haven't made a decision. Sam Mayer was one that was considered for that ride too. I think it'd be an excellent opportunity for Chandler. I have no idea what happens with Chandler if he doesn't get that ride, to be honest. Maybe his family puts it all on the line and they go do the 2311 charter, but it's just when talked about the FRM ride, I do agree it's probably the Smiths, but I'll put Herbst as an outside option. Guys with funding. The interesting thing here is we're getting ready to go green. We'll come back to this. Restarts are let's pay attention to the race, and hopefully Sean doesn't spoil anything for Ryan.
All right. Well, we are halfway though, so this race is official. For whatever that's worth, this race is official. So if there is any rain in the forecast, this is for the marbles.
Bad restart for AJ. Very bad.
Well, Josh Williams just slowed him way up here, and then Cole Custer sucked. With all that damage, Cole Custer making a move.
Gives you an idea on the horsepower difference. Oh,
I don't necessarily agree with that per se. It's just, momentum, right? You get sucked behind a driver, you go to the bottom lane, and it is what it is. Oh, we're the wrecking behind him. Daniel Dye's involved.
He is, yeah.
I was just talking Lawless Allen. There's the
That's
Lawless
the end
Allen
of
wreck.
his day. I hate to say that I called it, but I called it.
God, Lawless Allen sucks. Jesus, he's terrible. Stop the car. He literally told him to stop the car, and he's just like, nope, I'll just keep right on trucking.
Did SVG clear it? He is in harm's way here.
I don't see him on the ticker, but that doesn't mean much.
He barely, you're going to see it on a replay. He barely made it through. SVG almost got dusted there. No fault of his own, but makes it right up the middle.
Well, yeah, he's right behind Lawless, right? So Lawless got tore up. So let's see here. Oh, Lawless just sucks. God, Lawless sucks. Oh, yeah, Kligerman, great driving there by SVG.
Yeah.
Truly, that is elite driving by Shane there to avoid that altogether, to get checked up, get north of the spin,
Anybody
parted.
Did anybody catch the the spotter talk there on SVG's radio? I imagine they would have been all over that as it was happening, trying to help him get through that. Yeah, poor Daniel Dye, total victim there. Really unfortunate.
Yeah. And listen, that's racing, right? We talked about it at the top with points, and sometimes you just get wrecked and there's not much you can do about it. But that, yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of luck went involved there for Shane for sure, but great driving, yeah, to get north of that. That's really good stuff.
Wow. Yeah, that's well, better luck next time, Lawless.
That's the thing with Lawless, man. Like, I don't know much about him from the trucks other than he wrecks every single week. So this is a common Lawless Allen moment here.
Yeah, and unfortunately, one of the Kaulig cars fell victim to it. Not one of the ones he would have wanted to either. So, I don't know. It's going to depend if he knocked the toe out, if Dye can continue or not. It didn't look like there was a ton of damage, but he did back into the wall. So,
well, I'll tell you, if there is a spot in the car where you can survive a wreck, it's the right rear. So,
yeah, and that's where it hit. Yeah, I wish I would have been listening to SVG's in-car radio there. Would have loved to hear the spotter talk and how fast he was able to relay the information to SVG, or if it was all instinct there, a combination of them both. Either way, easily could have got collected and didn't lose to see another day. Has a chance to get a good finish here. All right, so we were on the FRM, man, as we were talking about silly season here. Where do you think it's going? Because, like, Zane has some funding, but as Bob's indicated, it's not a ton. Zane might bring you 10 races at most. Can Chandler bring you more than 10 races of Cup sponsorship? And if he can, are you going with Chandler over Zane?
Yes, I think so. That's a tough question. I really like both Smiths. I think both Chandler and Zane are going to have very long, very fruitful NASCAR Cup careers. But after seeing Zane struggle a lot this year, I'm kind of cooled slightly that maybe this type of racing just isn't, again, he's 22 years old. He's in his rookie year. Obviously, he's got plenty of time to get better. But I think if you're asking me, I would take Chandler because he's proven in the trucks. He's proven at Kaulig. He's proven it at Joe Gibbs. He has won at every level, at every stop he's been to. And I do think he probably, with his family's support, that he's got a decent amount of funding, even if it is only 10, 12 races. I think I would go with Chandler Smith over Zane Smith, but really, realistically, I think either one of them is a good option. I don't think you can go wrong either way.
I don't think we can discount the prior relationship with Zane Smith and FRM either. Obviously, years of history there.
Yeah, that could, from a front row standpoint, I could definitely see them leaning towards Zane because they have that working relationship. They, you know, I don't think wanted to release him last year, to be honest, but didn't have the spot. But yeah, sponsorship's an interesting one, right? We thought Zane had a little bit more than it seems like he does, and again, let's go back. What is Zane's relationship with Trackhouse? Is it ending? Is there still support there if he does stay in the Chevy family? Like, there's a lot of open questions with Zane that nobody seems to have a clear answer on, or if they do, they're not saying it publicly. Because I don't understand. And you said this before, especially with Trackhouse signing Suarez to only a 1-year deal. You would think that means they would want to keep Zane in the Trackhouse fold to potentially take that seat. So, if they just decide that they're going to part ways and that's not going to be a relationship going forward, that seems like Trackhouse is limiting themselves a little bit. So I truly am a little bit confuzzled on what Trackhouse's grand plans are with Zane Smith and even SVG and even their charter agreement at the moment. I feel like we know less today than we did a few weeks ago before Daniel Suarez signed his contract.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then, let's not forget that their prize star is probably Connor Zilish.
Well, and that's the
He's
good
a bit
point
away,
too.
but
Yeah, he's a few years away, but do you give up on a driver after one season? Like, again, like we were talking, how do you build relationships with drivers? Like, you want to form these, pipeline, right? And if you're giving up on Zane after 1 year, do you want to try, sign on with Trackhouse in the future? I don't know. So, but I will say Zilic seems like he's the real deal for sure. But at the same token, we said the exact same thing about Zane Smith just last year, right? He's coming off a truck title, was the best truck all year last year, made a championship 4 appearance. Like we were saying, yep, Zane Smith is that guy. He's going to be the best in the business for years to come. And 1 year in Cup, and now we're potentially throwing him away. So I think we're in a society where we're like giving up on drivers way too soon. And I feel like Zane might be in a little bit of a bad spot right now.
yeah, like specifically with Zane, I sit here and go, if Chandler was to get that ride, like I don't know, like if you're Bob Pockras, I don't know how you're not sitting there going, well, if Chandler gets the other FRM ride, how do you not have Zane Smith ahead of Daniel Hemrick or Ty Dillon? He absolutely should be, just based on ceiling. And we are giving up on people way too soon. There's not enough patience. I think it's far more likely that Zane Smith ends up in the 31 if he misses out on the FRM ride than Chandler. But I still think if you're Kaulig, you have to make that call to Chandler and his representatives if he does miss out on the FRM ride. And maybe it's as simple as Chandler returns to Gibbs and fills the 4th car, but it sounds like he's out there for whatever reason after signing a multi-year deal.
That's the part that I really am curious because for Chandler, I can't imagine he willingly left Joe Gibbs Racing without potentially on his own, without having an opportunity lined up. Perhaps he was nudged out the door, but that would
Yeah, I was
also
gonna
be
say we
surprising.
know
So
we know Chandler has a little bit of an attitude, and that sort of thing really doesn't fly with that organization.
So yeah,
Unless your name's Ty.
yeah, it's fair. That is a fair assessment. Ty can do whatever, but yeah, right. Like this Chandler is really perplexing because he had a 3-year contract with Kaulig and threw a hissy fit to get out of it to go back to Joe Gibbs, only to leave Joe Gibbs after 1 year. And listen, if he does not get that front row seat, where else is he going to go? Like, I don't see him having a lot of other options outside of that front row seat at the moment.
Speaking of paint schemes, I don't like the camper RV paint scheme this week, and I know they've upped the support this year of Kaulig. but I liked the paint scheme better last year for Camper.
I can't honestly tell the difference, to be honest.
The last year was a primarily white scheme.
Where is he at? Did he pit?
AJ, yes, he did.
Okay, I didn't realize he pit. Starting 18th. That's not exactly where I want him to be, but okay. But he should be good to the end of the race now, at least. If that.
Yeah, well, he's stuck behind Williams again. Yeah, that bad restart to begin stage 3 really hurt AJ. He's got a big uphill battle here the rest of the way, which is unfortunate. That's all it takes on a track position heavy race. Is I'm not saying he can't get back up there, but probably going to need a little bit of help to do so.
Yeah, he has to get around Williams here. Like this, Williams is killing
And
us.
we're about to have some bad news for. It's an inexperienced thing. You're about to see it.
The 7. Oh, the 97.
Yeah, a devastating penalty for SVG here. Pass through penalty. Changes lanes before the start. Looks like he's also trying to jump the start too, which is yeah, I don't know about that. I can see if they're saying he tried to jump the start a bit, but by hanging back,
Is he in
Kyle
the
Busch isn't
back?
penalized for that. You'll see the replay. It's
Well, he's taking the outside line. You cannot go low. Period. He changed lanes. That's a penalty. Yep, can't do that.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's cut and dry, man. He broke the rule. Can't do that.
Yeah, he's gonna be in some trouble here. It's that's just a very unfortunate turn of events for SVG, and he's gonna desperately need a caution to have any sort of shot at a decent finish now.
Well, there's still 50 laps left in this race. You know, he should be able to catch on to the tail end of the lead lap here. You know, it's not good, but we'll see. His day's not ruined. You're right, though. We need a caution, though, to get caught back up.
Yeah, he will not catch up without one, obviously. So, just real unfortunate, especially as guys start to get spread out here. So, just a costly mistake that he'll learn from, right? So, we talked about the 2311 possible third charter. To me, if it's happening, it's Riley Herbst. I'd still give Chandler Smith an outside shot at that one too. Just
Truly,
a matter of how much of his family wants to put on the line.
Yeah. Again, like as I mentioned before this restart here, like if he doesn't go to Front Row Motorsports, what other real option does he have? The answer would be the 2311 ride if it comes to fruition. But yeah, obviously we've kind of put Riley Herbst there, and Corey Heim seems to have the preferred long-term option, so yeah, I mean, if a 2311 would obviously be a great landing spot for him if that were to be the case, but I really do think he's in a position to potentially come back to Kaulig Racing if Front Row Motorsports falls apart. But again, and this goes to your point of like, is it Ty Dillon? Is it Daniel Hemrick? Listen, a very good driver is going to be left out, whether it's Zane Smith, Chandler Smith, Riley Herbst. somebody's going to be looking for a ride that thought they had one. So Kaulig definitely has some options if they're willing to go in that direction.
Yeah, I agree. Trackhouse, for me, it's SVG or bust there if they're going to get the third charter, or else we wouldn't be getting all these Zane Smith rumors like we have been, and him actively having conversations with other teams. Rick Ware Racing, man, what happens there if Justin Haley's out the door? And if you're Rick Ware, we've seen him be stubborn in the past. Is there a chance he just says we're not letting you go?
Nah, they reported today that there are out clauses in Haley's contract, and they will be exercised. So that seems like that's not an issue at all.
Well, that's a very, very unfortunate turn of events there, because we know Justin Haley was a pretty big component to them getting the RFK alliance this year. Brad really lobbied to get Justin in there. See, that's the one underneath the RWR thing is the RFK third charter, which again, Adam Stern is connected, like you said. I mean, I don't want to put Adam Stern down. It's not my place to do that, but um, like, it's mind-boggling to think you would pick Ryan Preece over Justin Haley. I uh, I don't think the two are close in terms of ceiling or even current talent.
Well, I will say this, there's a possibility that Justin Haley's already signed with Spire. Right. I think, they're part of that conversation could be that Justin Haley's already come to an agreement with Spire, and that's just a done deal, which means they have to look elsewhere. Because, yeah, I agree with you. Justin Haley would be 10 times the better option over Ryan Preece.
Well, AJ's going to need a caution here too, because the pack separated and him and Kligerman seem to be leading a second pack as he sits in 13th right now. So, hey, restarts kill. If you have a bad, and AJ's quite good at them, and you have a bad one, it's not great. You have two bad ones in a row, and you're in trouble. And sadly, he kind of fell victim to Josh Williams on both.
Yeah,
I'm not
he
trying to
did.
pick on Josh Williams, but he did AJ no favors there.
Well, the one thing we do know is that some of these leaders are in fuel conservation mode. So, if we don't get another caution, I do think some of these guys are going to have to back the pace up just a little bit, which should help drivers like Kligerman and AJ who have plenty of fuel to hopefully catch back up. That would be the preferred option there. Or if we get a caution, we're good. So
they only seem to have 7 or 8 more laps of fuel in their cars. The guys that did it again. And like, I don't think anybody can make it to the end from where we are at a Michigan race. I could be wrong and could be misremembering my Michigan fuel mileage, but unless we get a couple of cautions, I think everybody's got to come still.
How many laps are actually like 45? Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
42
2-mile track. I mean, we're talking, and they've obviously been racing for 5 or 6 laps. Yeah, that's true. That would be really pushing the envelope, but it seems like just listening to the Burton and Letarte in my ear, it sounds like they're trying to stretch the field to make it though. So we'll see how that plays out. Again, like without a caution, people will be really stretching that fuel out. So that also would be a very interesting race aspect here to talk about as we get towards the end.
So where does Rick Ware go, man? Because this was supposed to be the organization that was going to make moves to better themselves. At one point, it was rumored maybe Cody wouldn't return and they'd actually go find a real full-time second driver. That didn't happen, and Cody has gotten races this year because obviously it's his son, and he's not regarded as a very good person to begin with. But that aside, like, are we talking about this organization returning to be just utterly irrelevant again? Because it kind of feels like that's where it's going.
Yeah, I would feel yes. Even this year, as good as Haley's ran for several races, like I still feel like they're irrelevant because the other car is not very good, and Haley is kind of dragging that organization forward. Listen, it sounds like Kaz Growler's got an opportunity there, and even they mentioned Corey LaJoy, right? That Corey LaJoy seems like a good fallback option if they lose Haley. So I do think that would probably be the direction they go.
I don't know
But
if
how good
LaJoy's
that will
gonna
help
be an
them, I don't
option.
know.
I know Couch Racer had put out there that they thought LaJoy would be replacing Christian Eckes in the 19 truck.
That would make sense. That would be a good landing spot for him. But if that Rick Ware car opens up, I could see Corey LaJoy deciding to go that route as well. Good for Quavball taking the lead over the 20th. That's
brings us to our Xfinity series rides here, which with some of the announcements lately, man, there's not a ton available. We start with Junior Motorsports. They have one ride open. We know they have Sammy Smith, Connor Zilic, and Justin Allgaier. They're going to run there next year. Brandon Jones is out, rumored to be going back to Gibbs. Is it just as simple as Quapple is going to run full time next year, or is there a chance that Junior's open to a guy with more funding? Because as much as I like Junior Motorsports, they do go for guys with funding.
listen. It kind of going back to what I was mentioning a second ago. Um, I could see this being a landing spot for Chandler Smith, right? Like if things really go pear shaped for him, um, I do think a um, I do think he could potentially get that last spot at Junior Motorsports. Um, but with that being said, I don't think that's going to be the case. So I think Carson Qualfall's got this. He's leading this race. He's proven every opportunity he's gotten that he's been able to run up front. So I do think Junior Motorsports will figure out how to sponsor Qualfall, and he'll be in that fourth car.
Wouldn't be shocked if a lot of the funding that they've had to replace for Sam Mayer this year ends up on Qualp's car next year. Again, Sam Mayer doesn't have the sponsor. I think I argued with a guy on Twitter about this, but he does not have the support that he had the previous 2 or 3 years. It is significantly less, kind of the Zane Smith scenario. And my broadcast just got choppy there for a second. No idea what was going on there. But yeah, I sit there and I go, hey, um, you know, Sam Mayer's out the door. Maybe that was a judgment call by Junior as well to go, hey, we would rather give that funding to Carson.
Yeah, and that's a very valid point. That's Sam Mayer's. We all know Sam Mayer was definitely at least dancing with some cup organizations, right? That they were trying to go cup racing, and that may have rubbed Junior Motorsports the wrong way, and they kindly ushered him to the door, especially with maybe his current sponsorship situation. So that definitely would open the opportunities for a Carson Quaffle. So I definitely feel like that's the direction they're going to go, and they really can't go wrong. Whether they get Carson Quaffle or a Chandler Smith, that's going to be a pretty stout team next year.
The chat saying SVG about to get swallowed up. Make no mistake about it. That's inevitable without a caution.
Yeah, and we even watching AJ and Parker, right? Like even with these top 10 cars jostling for position, when you lose the draft, you're just going to be a little bit slower, and they're just slowly fading behind. They're about 6.5 behind. So
yeah, already back to 7 now. Actually, seems like Parker's having a hard time keeping up. AJ's got about half a second on him now. I think AJ's in
maybe
11th,
that
Parker's in 12th. Maybe SVG slides in there once he gets back in line and helps his teammate out. We'll see what happens here, but we got some very interesting green flag pit stops happening. Not yet, but it's scheduled without a caution here. We'll We'll see what happens.
Well,
Um,
what would be really interesting is if they decide to use SVG as a gas saver, right? They might just kind of pull in behind SVG here for a few laps and let him try to lead this pack for a minute to save gas for these guys. Or it could just be pear-shaped wreck. Who knows? But we'll see.
brings us to the Joe Gibbs rides, man. We believe we know three of them. The one gray kid, I get them mixed up, so I forget which one it is. I think it's the fella that's in the Xfinity race today that spun out.
Yeah, it's him,
Um,
Taylor. I think it's Taylor.
and so you got him. It sounds like William Swallow. I can't pronounce his last name, dude. Sawalich or whatever. Uh,
Willich, I think.
Sounds like his, from what I read last night, his family paid for two truck seasons and one Xfinity. So that seems like that's locked up and done. And it seems like Brandon Jones is going there, funding, obviously. That fills three of four rides. Not that an Xfinity organization can't have more than four rides, it's just unlikely. Um, you know, they usually have an all star car. So is that the lineup, or is there a chance that Chandler returns, or does it
Nope.
rule out Chandler returning?
Chandler's gone. Chandler's kiss it goodbye. He's done. That fourth car will be an all-star car. It's always an all-star car. There's no doubt in my mind it'll continue to be an all-star car. So now they could go five, right? There is no limits in Xfinity. They could potentially add a fifth, but that's not Joe Gibbs' MO. I don't see that being the outcome here. So yeah, I think Chandler Smith is completely out at Joe Gibbs. They've got their lineup set, and it's going to be an interesting one. I don't personally think it's going to be that good. I do not feel Saul Willich is very good. I think Gray will be okay, but Chandler is better. And, the Brandon Jones is Brandon Jones, right? He'll pop out a good race here and there, but for the most part, he's just a middle of the pack driver like Daniel Hemrick is. So I definitely think Joe Gibbs is taking a big step back in terms of talent next year. But they all have funding. They all have everything figured out. I think that's done. So there you go. They're racing to the rain. So it's a real shame because AJ is in the best fuel position out of all of the cars directly in front of him, but just too far back to make anything happen.
And his question is, will the rain come or not in time? We'll see. They didn't think they were going to get this much of the race in. SVG's pushing Quapple right now, so he is a lap down. AJ's sitting by himself in 11th, no help. Parker's falling off. He's just carrying more pace than the cars around him. Hey, two bad restarts. Not to play the blame game, but Josh Williams really fucked up twice in a row. It's hard to not sit there and have the evidence right in front of us and go, yeah, maybe you shouldn't have blocked your teammate.
Listen, man, I don't want to go. That's unfair because AJ could have passed him and he couldn't. So there's a bit of
Oh, I
we
mean,
can't just
Williams
say
moved.
AJ's not innocent here because he
No,
fucked himself.
AJ for sure
So I
flipped
don't
the
I don't
track on
like
the
the way you're
one,
just throwing Josh Williams
but
under the bus there. That's not cool.
I disagree, man. The one restart, Josh Williams absolutely moved down in front of the 16. 100%. AJ's coming off the corner and had the momentum, and SVG or Josh Williams took it away. You on this stream said the exact same thing yourself as it happened.
Yes, but you're blaming him for AJ's failure. So I'm just saying AJ didn't help himself.
There's no way anybody can make it.
No, they're clearly racing to the rain and hoping they can get to that point. Because if 3 miles short is what they just said on the broadcast, I mean, actually, that's closer than I thought they'd be. That's a lap and a half. So
If you see the fuel thing come up, let me know. I know there was other cars that pitted with AJ, so it's not like all these guys are going to run out and AJ's going to be first, but definitely has an opportunity to gain some. But even he, I think, is going to have to pit.
no, he's good. He should be good. He's got 8 more laps, 7 more laps than these guys in front. If these guys in
I
front are only 3 miles short, he's definitely good.
Man, fuel mileage must have changed because I can tell you right now, I used to race this track a ton on on iRacing, and you could not do 50 plus laps on Michigan. That was a no go.
Well, I will say this. I think he is catching love. But, I mean, we're talking 10th here, not first. So
I think he is too. I think he went from about 2.5 back to I think he's about 1.5 back now.
do you have the the thing from NASCAR we can put back up?
No, I don't. Laptop died, so sadly my laptop battery was at full when we started, and just between running the sharing and the stream yards, it juices it. Speaking of Josh Williams, by the way, who started in front of AJ, where the hell is he?
Where is he running? Let's see. I can pop it up here. He definitely fell to 20 something, which of course seems typical, but
20th.
yeah, let's see. AJ is only a second behind Jesse Love now. He's running lap times faster than the leaders, AJ. Sammy Smith, Justin Allgaier are running really good lap times right now. But
If you trust the gas gauges on NASCAR's site, it really seems as if the only one that's in trouble is Quaffle. He definitely cannot make it. The other guys, according to this, seem to have just as much fuel as AJ. I would say Love has a little bit less. Austin Hill has a little bit less. Taylor Gray definitely has less. Same with Gregson. Justin Allgaier looks like he can make it. John Hunter, he must have done a better job of conserving his fuel than some of the other guys because he's got more left in. Again, I don't know how accurate this gas gauge is on their website, but right now AJ has, make no mistake, he has the most fuel out of anybody in the top 11 drivers.
yep, if this
Justin
thing can go
Allgaier close
22
second.
more laps, he's going to get a top 5. Yeah, he's now only half. Yeah, he's 4/10 behind Love now. So now he should be catching Love's wake a little bit.
No. Get your ass to pit road.
Who's that?
The 35 car, an absolute nobody.
He should be okay to make it to pit road.
It looks like something's broke. I don't know if he can carry enough momentum. He's got a long turn to get around.
He's looking okay.
I say, don't throw the yellow now. Oh, get off. Oh, there we go. I thought he was going back up onto the track. I say, what the hell are you doing? Wouldn't be the first time we've seen someone do that. By the way, everybody, SVG is in the lucky dog position if we get a caution. So he wouldn't just have to take a wave around. He would be the lucky dog. Also means he would start at the end of the longest line.
Oh, I
Yeah,
like your positivity, JB. AJ might take the win.
Sadly, Justin Allgaier has too much fuel left. It would take. Yeah, I'm looking at Allgaier's fuel now. Allgaier has in terms of the top 11 drivers, the second most amount of fuel left out of them all. He will definitely make it, in my opinion. But AJ's got a shot at a good finish here. If big if one, it stays yellow or stays green,
Oh, 7 got loose.
and two, weather doesn't force a yellow, which would more than likely end the race.
So where are we at 6 o'clock? They've got a couple hours of light left, but I agree. Any sort of heavy rain shower, it's over. I'm a little annoyed that AJ hasn't gotten around Jesse Love yet.
I don't know if they're drafting together to try to catch the cars in front of them because there is a gap between those two. AJ's fuel just went down. Again, he should be good. This is Justin Allgaier's race to lose at the moment, in my opinion.
I agree wholeheartedly. It would take something pretty drastic for the 7 not to get this.
88 coming to pit road, no choice.
Is he coming now?
Yeah.
And now that puts SVG back on the lead lap, guys. Doesn't I know that's not the most satisfying thing in the world, but at least if a caution comes out now, he can pit and catch back up to the back of the lead lap group. So
the Toyotas are definitely saving. I don't know if they're going to be able to save enough, though. I'm having a hard time hearing my broadcast, but I'm sitting here looking at this. I don't think there's any way that there shouldn't be a way that most of these guys make it.
Yeah, but they're saying rain clouds are over the track now, so which I'm surprised by. Like, if it's about to rain, I'm surprised Quaffable came to pit.
Yeah, Jesse Love came to pit too. So that if there's rain clouds over the track now, that was a bad call. It's definitely bright on half the track and not so bright on the other half. Looks like 1 and 2 is not a great area right now.
Yeah, so let's take so Allgaier and AJ were on the same pits, and in this game again goes back to your restarts, right? Like Allgaier and AJ are on the exact same pit strategy.
And
Allgaier's going to win this race, and AJ's barely cracking the top 10 here.
Yeah, he's running 9th right now. Austin Hill shouldn't be able to make it. Taylor Gray shouldn't be able to make it. Chandler Smith shouldn't be able to make it. Noah, Sammy, Sheldon, John, all those guys. So, like, AJ should have a shot at the top 5 here if we can stay green, but you never know how much fuel one can save. Like, Joey Logano won that race. I forget where it was.
Darlington, right? I think it was Darlington.
The race was Nashville. And
Nashville, yeah, okay, yeah.
And it was just restart after restart after restart at the end, and he should have ran out, but somehow didn't.
Yeah, the broadcasters are saying it's dark. Yeah, man, I wish we could. My concern is we're not going to get these last 13 laps in. We might get 3 or 4 more, but I got a feeling the rain's coming, and that's going to make it anticlimactic here, because I really do think, as you said, that a handful of these cars will not make it to the end, and that would make things super exciting.
Of these cars have 3 or 4 left. We'll see. Oh, now they're talking about guys might have done enough to save gas. Creed seems very low. So does John Hunter. Chandler's not as bad as some of the others. Gregson, yeah, should be toast, but I don't know. We'll see. Well, Sheldon Creed trying to get that first win. I don't know if he's going to clear SVG here unless SVG lets him go.
Yeah, this will be interesting because again, like if they're race, yeah, obviously there's only 11 laps to go, but maybe we're only racing for 4 or 5 more laps, right? Maybe Creed's like, screw it, I might not have enough to make it to the end, but I got enough to make it 5 or 6 more. Let me go take it. Let's see. Let's look at some lap times here. I mean, Creed was 0.2 of a second faster than Allgaier that last lap. So
The amount of guys on NASCAR's app right now showing up on empty is not good. And Justin Allgaier obviously burning more fuel, being in the lead. His went down more than it normally would have. AJ's is more than his now, and they were about on par. Oh, I think they were on their last set of tires, right?
I have no idea. Probably. Oh, not Rain. Wreck. Who's that?
Well, it might be the end of the race regardless. Hopefully they get it cleaned up and we go back green, but I got my doubts, man. That was a lick.
Haven't seen the replay yet, but driver looks like he's feeling it.
Oh, I would be feeling it. That
Oof. Yep. That's about as worse of a spot as you can be on the track and lose a tire.
Yeah, unfortunate. Guys, like, I think they just said 22 laps down, and that happens. And that, hate to say it, everyone, that might be the end of the race there. So that's very, very unfortunate. Glad he's okay, though. That could have been worse. Ooh. Doesn't look like the cleanup should be too bad. It's a small stretch there. How
Yeah,
fast can
I
you
will
get the
say
car to
this.
the wall?
Yeah, they shouldn't have to spend a ton of time putting down speedy dry or anything, but
Now, the caution may save people from running out, may not. I don't think you can pit. Like, I just don't. You pit here, you're basically throwing your race away.
yeah, you just can't, even on a fresh set of tires. And I
Yeah.
know fresh tires matter, but like,
It seems like, 3/4 of the track's clean, but guess what? You don't need 3/4 of the track clean at a place like this. You need the whole thing. That being said, there is a system about to hit them. It's not a very big one. We'll see what happens here.
yeah. And now, oh boy, I just saw the pace car put the windshield wipers on his little Camaro.
They're off now. Now, they claim they're coming back for a restart, people, but it might be over. We'll see. If it's not, then this might be one of those times where we're watching guys run out of fuel and disaster hits, and the race. This restart's just going to mean so much here if we get one. Um, you can conserve fuel better under yellow. Let's try to get through the rest of our list here, man. We talked about Gibbs. That leaves potentially two colleague rides open. One for sure, but apparently they've been filled according to Breakhard, who, if you don't follow his channel, and if you happen to be a good lip reader, head on over and watch his Xfinity Silly season video yesterday, where he talks about him knowing the other colleague Xfinity driver. My question is, as much as I like him and his channel, it's probably not more dialed in than Adam Stern or Bob Pockrass or anything like that. And Bob talks about Daniel on the Cup ride. Well, that to me tells me it shouldn't be Daniel Hemrick in the Xfinity ride.
Yeah,
Um, I'm not saying he can't have one, but I'm saying in terms of the lineup that's there now, it should not be him.
I mean, you've been much more inclined to think that Hemrick would get an Xfinity deal than I. I've really been fairly personally confident that Hemrick
Chandler's
would
pay.
not be going to the Xfinity program. So, and I agree. I really just don't think. I mean, hell, he's still, I think, an option for the Cup program. Wow, bold move. He's going to put some fresh tires on it and see what happens.
I don't know if these guys have tires left. I think they might be scuffs.
Even still, I mean, these scuffs are definitely better than how long have they been going? For
No,
40
for quite
laps,
a
50
while.
laps? Yeah, scuffs still be a big advantage here. So,
My thinking is this was more of a fuel call, and if he's short on fuel to make it to the end, one would think so are his teammates.
yep, we'll see. I think I agree with you. I do think it's mostly fuel related, and this is just the opportunity to put some fresher tires on.
Believe this moves AJ up to seventh. I could be wrong. Seventh or eighth.
I think it'll be eighth.
Yeah, it looks like eighth. Behind Austin Hill, who should run out. Um, Taylor Gray, who should run out. Like, the interesting thing here is when we look at the gas gauge for the cars that are left on there. Like, obviously, you can burn through more fuel than other drivers in the course of a run, depending on how hard you're running. But AJ and Allgaier had like 7 or 8 laps more than Creed, Smith, John Hunter, Gregson, Gray, and Hill. 7 or 8 laps more. These guys should not be able to make it to the end.
Listen, the one thing I give NASCAR drivers a lot of credit for is they have an amazing knack for saving fuel. These guys, when they're told 40, 50 laps from the end of this race that they need to save, they can save a lap or two or even 3 if they're really good at it. So, if they really felt like they were only a lap or 2 short, I think they could save it. And now this caution really will get them even closer. So I do think we might see 1 or 2 run out, but I also could see a couple of these guys actually being able to make it to the end here. Now, the real question is, how are they going to do on the restarts? Are they going to sputter, right? Maybe the pickup doesn't get all the fuel, and that could lead to more problems. We saw that in Nashville, right? Cars running out of gas, causing more wrecks. That would be my concern.
We got reports in the chat of rain on SVG's windshield. Again, if it's just the tiniest bit of light mist, they may send them still. But we'll see. Like I said, when that caution came out, I didn't have a good feeling.
Yeah, I will say NASCAR's been very conservative when it comes to fuel, or I'm sorry, with rain. They have been erring on the side of caution since that Daytona issue a few years ago. So if they are seeing sprinkles, I kind of got a suspicion they might continue to ride around under yellow, which would not be my ideal finish here, but wouldn't surprise me if that's the direction they go. I hope they decide that they're ready to roll and we
Yeah, I
get
don't think that's going
some
to
green
happen.
here.
I just seen rain on the actual TV camera. Yeah, and lots on Austin Hill. We're probably done here. That's really unfortunate. What a terrible way to see. If I'm NASCAR, when you look at that weather radar that you're about to see, I am throwing the red right here.
Yeah, see if it kind of gets right, just like earlier. Maybe it'll clear out. They can give themselves, buy themselves 15, 20 minutes as if it's because that's not much. That is a very light sell.
Yeah, to me I'd throw the red, but Justin Allgaier's leading the race, and I firmly believe NASCAR has operated this way for years. Allgaier's leading. It doesn't mean just Allgaier, but a bunch of different cars that could be leading. By the way, AJ is down on the apron, saving gas. I don't know how much he used, but that's a little worrisome. Um, but I throw the red. Like damn well, if Kyle Weatherman was leading this race right now, they'd be throwing the red.
Yeah, I don't disagree here. I think this is an interesting decision. I mean, with 4 laps left, 3 laps left, they should throw the red if they think they can get this going again. If they truly feel this would be a super quick shower, you know, let them bring it down pit road, put the jet dryers out on the track. Again, 15, 20 minutes of red isn't the worst thing in the world. I'd rather they try that than run the next 4 laps under yellow.
The interesting thing here is AJ is going down to the apron to save fuel. Justin Allgaier is making his way down there. You know who's not? The
Sheldon
Toyotas,
Creed.
and everybody else should be running out before those two. Oh, there will be overtime.
That's interesting, right? Because they clearly think they're going to get this race in if they're going to overtime. And if this thing does go to overtime and they add another 2 laps, that's going to be really killer. Well, it's not raining again anymore. Doesn't look like. But this is the type of restart that really scares me here because, assuming we
Huge
don't get any
pile up
rain,
somewhere.
right? You race all day long. You put yourself in position. Even AJ down in 8th or any of these guys in the top 10 who've ran here all day, they all could have their days ruined on a restart. Michigan's known for some really aggressive, really intense
We may have
restarts.
had someone just run out there. Someone on the overhead cam just fell back. Maybe it was intentional. I don't know. We got Allgaier down on the apron saving. Just stunning that Creed and Nemechuk aren't. Like, I got to question the fuel mileage on the Toyotas compared to the Chevys then. That's outrageous, man. And it's definitely still raining. Like, the appropriate thing here to do is throw the red with what the weather radar looks like. Are they going to do it? By the way, SVG is back on the lead lap for people that are wondering. He is sitting in, I don't know because my app is being stupid.
Yeah, now I
28.
just hearing Burton making a good statement. Why aren't we red flagging this thing?
Because NASCAR makes garbage decisions all the time.
Because it is now raining, as I see you guys in the chat is saying. It's not sprinkling now. It's full on raining.
They're going to bring them down pit road. The question is, will they allow them to get back going again? My guess is no, because that's typical NASCAR bullshit. They're going to be, it's not worth driving the track for 2 laps. again, if the weather radar is accurate, one would think that it is. These guys should be able to uh, get back going. It's whether or not they will, and so NASCAR can decide who wins. Basically, yeah, this has been my problem for NASCAR for many many years. I hope we get to see a finish to this thing. I don't believe we will.
Yeah, yeah. Again, like even if they decided to red flag this thing with 6 to go, like we were kind of asking them to, if they feel like the rain is too much and it's going to take an hour to dry the track, they're going to call it. They're not going to do that. So, yeah, at the end of the day, they're all guys going to win in either scenario. So I don't really see this as NASCAR manipulating the winner here, but it really does just boil down to how much wet actually gets on the track. Because if it is just a light rain, light sprinkle, it won't take long for them to dry the track. If it really, even if it only unloads for a minute or two and the track is completely lost, the race is over. They're not going to, they will not dry it for 4 laps.
It's really unfortunate because, people pay good money to go to these things and they deserve to see finishes under green. Sometimes it can't be helped, but the weather radar seems to indicate that they should have a shot. But I got to tell you, I think they're going to call it. That's the other thing I'd like to see. You're getting all this money from the TV deal, and I know it's not necessarily NASCAR. A lot of it's track, you know, equipment. But I would love to see far more jet dryers on the bigger tracks. Like, I cannot tell you how many times my dad and I, when I was growing up, would just bitch about the amount of jet dryers on the track. And now they've got mega TV money in there. They're obviously big investment. I'm not saying it's not. It's not my money, but there are pathways to being able to get back racing green and keeping the track dry that aren't necessarily being used all the time.
Well, they did invest heavily into the Air Titans, and those Air Titans have made a world of difference. They've shaved 40-50% off the track drying time. So I do think they've done a good job with that, but I do agree. Like, and we even see this, like a lot of times they have jet dryers from other tracks at each race, right? We're at Michigan here, but it wouldn't surprise me in the least if there's 2 or 3 jet dryers that say Talladega on the side. It definitely could improve their infrastructure by adding more to the fleet. But it would almost need to be a traveling system, a traveling fleet of jet dryers. I think it would be a tough ask to ask each track who only gets 1, maybe 2 races a year to invest in 25 jet dryers. But if NASCAR and the TV and even maybe the tracks got together and invested in 25 or 30 jet dryers that just became part of a traveling series, that would be really good. I would definitely not be mad about that, but because that's what they do with the Air Titans.
Um, we'll see what happens here. Let's go back to the Kaulig Xfinity lineup here by process of elimination. Um, so if Daniel Hemrick isn't one of the drivers that's currently locked into the lineup, there's always the possibility Breakhart's wrong too. I'm not trying to throw him under the bus. He's an excellent content creator, and everybody should go check out his channel. Really good dude. Same with Eric Estep. But if the lineup is at least 3 of them full, and it's not Daniel Hemrick, man, and it's not Ty Dillon, and it's not Zane Smith. I'm looking at this, and we know it's not Corey LaJoy, and he mentioned Harrison Burton way too many times with other rides, and Riley Herbst is still waiting to see what's going on. That to me, and same with Ryan Preece, was mentioned in other places, that to me, the only guys left on the list when we look at our list here are Daniel Dye, a younger guy like Nick Sanchez, or Parker Kligerman. There's literally no one else on the list. Otherwise, I would argue Bob's info on Hemrick's wrong, and he's already agreed to go to the Xfinity Series.
I don't think Bob's info is wrong, but you're right. It does definitely limit it, and and again, he was very specific with his words that it would could change. Like he said, I don't think it's changed. So maybe there is a door from the Xfinity side that could be opened to be somebody that we weren't necessarily thinking it might be. But I do agree that the options really are dwindled here, and the available drivers that would make sense would be, Harrison Burton obviously would make sense because he has funding and he doesn't seem to have any firm footing. The other option, I think Parker Kligerman, we have on this list. He's a little bit older. He seems, a career Xfinity guy. He does drive for Big Machine Racing, and he seems to be pretty competitive in that car week in and week out. I would definitely not be opposed to a Parker Kligerman coming over to Kaulig. And then a name that you don't have on this list, and it's a name that I don't think you would be super interested in, but I do think it's somebody that would be, a Matt DiBenedetto. I do think, they flirted with each other last year, similar to what Ty Dillon did. AJ and Matty D are friends. And he's gone down, and honestly, he's driving for Viking Motorsports this year, which is a low-funded team, and he's ran pretty well for that car. Like, he's running, I think, as good as that car is capable of running. So he would be motivated, right, given a decent opportunity with a Kaulig car to perform and prove that he's still capable. I do think Matty D is an option here that maybe it's not somebody we would have been talking about a lot or even really thinking was on the radar, but I do think that's a former Cup driver that has a lot to prove, and I do think he's talented. So I wouldn't be shocked at all if Matty D kind of showed up in the picture as well. Obviously, I'm just pulling that out of left field, but it's, I think, a name that, looking at who's left, is somebody that at least should be considered.
Yeah, I know you got your Matty D obsession, man, and I will gladly come on here and eat some crow if I'm wrong. But I think there's almost no chance in hell that it is him, and I never seen from anywhere tangible that Matty D was a realistic option for them last year. There was a couple of places that had it, but to me, no one tangible. That's not on Matty D. I mean, I thought Matty D performed very serviceable in the Cup Series in the 21 car. I didn't have an issue with how he performed, but I don't think he's done much since. His opportunities have been limited, obviously.
I was going to say, it's hard to do
Um,
much when you're driving for
but
Greenfield Racing in the
for,
trucks and Viking
for
Motorsports and Xfinity.
for sure, but one of the reasons he's at those places is he doesn't have very much funding. And I got to tell you, if you're gonna put a guy in there that's not going to be bringing in funding, and it's the Xfinity Series, I'm sorry, but I'm going and I'm getting another driver on the. Okay, so there probably isn't another Christian Eckes out there, but the one closest to it is one you and I talked about off air. Is, what if it's Nick Sanchez? What if it's both?
Nick Sanchez would be a grid hire, 100%. I would be very happy. I kind of look at Nick Sanchez in the same boat that I looked at Sam Mayer and even Christian Eckes as young drivers who has a little bit to prove, very young, but has proven in their series that they can win. And he's won at the truck level. He's got 2-3 wins at the truck series. So that's definitely somebody I would be excited about. He's 23 years old, same age as Christian Eckes. He's a Drive for Diversity driver. So he's got a little bit of support through that program. And I definitely think he's got potential to be more. And I would like to see him with an opportunity. I don't know if it's going to come to fruition, but he is a Chevy driver, and that is definitely somebody that could potentially be pulled into the Kaulig family. So Nick Sanchez is definitely a driver I'm high on, and I would like to see him come our way. But I similar to the Matty D situation, I just haven't heard or seen anything tangible that would point him that way. But I
I
would
agree.
definitely be excited about it.
Yeah, I agree. I think when we talk about this, like as underwhelming as it might be for Kaulig Racing fans, there's a scenario where this shapes up being, and it would be very Kaulig for this to happen. But at least AJ would be your, your going the right direction in the Cup Series, despite his age. There's a scenario where this ends up as AJ and Ty Dillon in the Cup cars, and it being Hedrick Williams Eckes in Xfinity, and I can't say I have an appetite for it to end up like that. Obviously, the Eckes get is huge. We need details though, right? It can't be a 1 year show me on a kid like that. That needs to be a multi-year deal that you don't let the guy walk away from this time, um, because to get a guy like that, I don't we have a lot of fans on the channel here. By the way, if you haven't yet, like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications to all. It really helps us out. Every single video we post, ladies and gents, when you engage with the video, when you comment, if you comment multiple times, it helps it share the video. Google loves when content creators pay to have their video shared more, and Ryan and I are most definitely not in position to do that. Maybe someday if the channel supports skyrockets from where we're at, but as it is right now, it's us doing a lot of the heavy lifting to bring you guys whatever we can. By the way, track it looks pretty dry there now, so I uh, I would hope that we're going to go back green here. It'd be weird for them to now call the race. But yeah, engagement helps us. Even if it's a video that you're not super fond of, maybe it doesn't have SVG content all over it, but even letting it play in the background, the two biggest things that push the channel forward: engagement and watch time. It helps a lot, and we greatly appreciate it. By the way, so I can definitely say this officially now, and Ryan and I have talked about it. If SVG does end up at Trackhouse next year, seems so weird saying it as if now instead of a sure thing. Um, if he is at Trackhouse, I know our channel name's Kaulig Nation. I guarantee you, in almost every video, you're going to see a little. Everything's going to be timestamped. You'll see the quality of our content continue to improve too, as we continue to go, just in terms of graphics, presentation, and whatnot. But you will get a SVG report in every single thing we do, contrary to what some people think. We really do like SVG. We're just trying to prepare people for what's going to be an adjustment. We've seen it today, everyone. Like, we're talking about SVG racing for a top 10 right now, maybe inside the top 10. And instead, he's 28th on the tail end of the lead lap over a self inflicted wound. These things happen. It's going to take time, is all we're saying.
Yeah, and listen, and we are number one Allmendinger fans, right? That's kind of been our how we got into this to begin with. But we see a lot of similarities between Allmendinger and SVG. Obviously, they came from different disciplines before moving to NASCAR, but they both were elite racers in their field before making the switch to NASCAR. And just watching as Allmendinger evolved over the years, that it took a while. It really did. His first couple years, he missed. Believe it or not, if you go back and look at his rookie season, he DNQ'd the first 7 races of his career. In fact, they put a driver named Mike Skinner in the car for a race or two to just get it in the field because AJ couldn't do it. The transition to the Cup level is really, really hard, but over years, you see that progress. You see him getting better. You see, obviously, the bread and butter, the road courses, always competitive there. And now we're at a point where AJ is pretty damn good on 1.5 miles. In fact, I would say it's his best discipline outside of the road courses. So, it's just one of those things that we've seen, but it's taken a better part of a decade. And now I do say this about SVG, he will be, I think, let's assume he's going to Trackhouse. We fully believe that's the case. He will be starting at a very strong situation. The Trackhouse organization is definitely a good team. They're not Hendrick. They're not Joe Gibbs Racing. They're not Penske. They're not the top tier team in NASCAR.
They're not
But
2311 either, to be clear.
yeah, but they are very, very good, and we will not argue that they are a better team than Kaulig. They will give SVG opportunities to run competitive, good cars. I'm assuming they'll have a lot of good engineers and crew chiefs, so he will be given a leg up in that front. But it's still going to take time. It's still a lot of practice. But when we review these races and we look back and say, yep, he's been improving stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 3. It is the small stuff. And we talked about it before that last pit stop, right? Don't speed, don't have a loose wheel, don't have don't hit the commitment cone when you do the commit. There's just so many things to get a penalty that's going to put you in the back or ruin your day. Those are the things that over the next couple of years, SVG is going to have to really clean up and improve upon. So, but when we look at our guy AJ and we look at SVG, the career arc is so similar that for me, when AJ hangs it up here in a couple of years, I really don't think AJ is going to be racing much more than 2, maybe 3 more seasons. For me, there's no question that SVG is going to be my main driver after that, because I just see so much of the same personality, skill set. It's a lot of fun for me and I really enjoy watching him race.
Yeah, no, for sure. Me too. I look, AJ is going to be there as long as he wants, basically. Whether it's in the Cup Series or the Xfinity Series is another question. But dude signed a very nice deal that still has 3 full seasons left after this year with an option for a 4th, which is crazy when you consider he's 42 years old. Important to note, though, for those of you that are new to the sport, AJ did stop driving for a couple of years. Basically thought that his career was over and revived it with Kaulig. I love SVG, and the career parallels are definitely there. Excited to see what happens here. The cars are rolling. It's going to be at least a couple of laps before they can get it green. I gotta think guys run out, man. Multiple cars, and then do they run out safely, or are we getting more yellows from wrecks? Uh, you know, there's a real chance here someone that's not in the top 10 could win this race if we get multiple yellows here.
Well, I will say I'm trying to find, where is Chandler. Chandler is 20th. He's the first one with fresh tires, plenty of fuel. So
He needs a yellow.
yeah, we'll see what Chandler can do. I think that's going to be a really interesting. We've got a couple laps here, and I agree, 2 laps in Michigan's probably not enough. But if we get a pile up or one, 2 or 3 attempts at a green white checker here, he's definitely sitting in the catbird seat.
Theoretically, Allmendinger and Allgaier should have a little bit more fuel left than some of the guys that are in between them. But there are variables here. Sadly, some of the vehicles, some of the manufacturers get better fuel mileage than other manufacturers, right? Which is a problem. And then it's how hard do they drive it? Obviously, Allgaier drove it quite hard to get to the lead. Oh, they're already going to go to pick them. They're not going to run another one, so that's going to help the guys out.
Yeah, they needed the NASCAR is doing these guys a solid with that. Although
I don't like
no, I
that.
don't know, man. His lights are still on.
AJ just chose low, and he only gets to move up 1 row. I think. Well, I'll give AJ this. Low might be your preferred lane to avoid guys running out of fuel. Other than that, it's a bad call for speed. AJ's down on that apron too.
Well, that could be part of it too, right? He wants to be on that apron.
Yeah, I won't lie. I wasn't worried about AJ and fuel to begin with, but Um, I'm a little bit worried now. I also seen something that the colleague posted on social media during the break, and he didn't seem very confident. So, um,
Well, he did have to burn a lot of fuel, right? He was racing by himself there for quite some time, kind of in no man's
eight
land.
extra laps than some of these guys, though. Eight?
Oh, he should be good. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying, like, if he's out, the rest of them will be out too, right?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, do we believe he burned actually be more than eight extra laps if he runs out before anybody that's in between him and Allgaier?
My assumption is he wouldn't be the only one running out of gas if he runs out.
Well, here we go, people. I will mute myself.
And I'll maybe give you guys another viral moment. Let's see. All right, they got to get bunched up. Here we go. A good solid restart here. Side by side, everybody stayed in line. Everybody's got fuel. Let's see how this goes. Well, the low line got a hell of a restart. I'm shocked by that. Yeah, that was a really bad move. I agree with you, Sean. Him going low was definitely a bad move for AJ, but we'll see how this looks here. Ooh, somebody's upside down. That's a Sieg.
Yeah, an absolute just bad call by AJ. Not even going to get a top 10 from it. Hey, you can't have three bad restarts in a row. And he had three bad restarts in a row. And it's unfortunate, I firmly believe Williams was at fault for one of them, but um, the other two were on AJ or whoever made the call. More than likely AJ. Sometimes the team tells them to make or what call to make on the pick'ems. Um, just all around,
I am a
not good in terms of the
well.
restart.
I definitely think part of that was the fuel, right? I do think there was issues. When you think of the fuel being on the low line is the safer spot. I'm assuming he thought, everyone made it. That's the part that I'm actually amazed by. Nobody ran out here, and that is pretty shocking to me. So, I definitely agree that they should have taken the high line. That would have been better for their finish in this race. But I do think some of this thought process would be, well, if somebody runs out, we can go low. We can do that. So it's definitely disappointing. He should have finished top 10, and maybe he will still finish 10th based off of how they do the finish line and the last loops and all that jazz. But definitely left a little bit on the table today. That's frustrating.
It absolutely is. We're going to wrap things up, though. Both Ryan and I have to scram and get out of here. We'll have to talk about the NASCAR charter deal on another video. There was a lot to talk about on this. Hopefully, there's more details on that. Hopefully, we get some more answers for silly season. Another wild ending, regardless of it going our way or not. I did mention a while ago it was Allgaier's race to lose, and yeah, well, he won it. Really appreciate you all coming out. We will not be doing a live stream for the Cup race. You can catch our next live stream, if I'm remembering the schedule right. Atlanta comes before Watkins Glen. Is that right? Or
Yes,
after?
well, it's a week before. Atlanta's a week before.
So we'll be doing Atlanta, although we don't know if we'll be doing the Xfinity Series or the Cup Series race yet. Watkins Glen, we're doing the Cup race, which will have AJ and SVG in it for Kaulig. And then at the Roval, we're doing the Xfinity race, which will be a move on race for them too, right? So it,
They might be duking it out for the last transfer spot, right? That's going to be
it,
really
it,
intense.
it could be. Again, we appreciate the support. We'll have more content throughout the week. Um, just a lot of fun once again. We like doing these. I know this one wasn't as advantageous for a lot of our fans across the pond as the last one, because the last one didn't start until about 10 minutes from now because it was a night race. But it is what it is. You'll be able to watch it after the fact. Um, yeah, just big thanks to everyone. Ryan, final thoughts?
Yeah, this was definitely not the day I was hoping for. I really thought that the Kaulig cars showed that they would be a little bit were really strong last couple races at Pocono and Indy. Didn't quite show that same speed this week, but still, we take it. We'll move on to the next one. You know, I definitely still feel confident that they've made good strides on this Xfinity program, and we definitely have a really good stretch of tracks coming up. So we'll take that and see if we can't nab a victory here in the next couple weeks.
Absolutely. For Ryan, I'm Sean. Keep a smile on that face, and we'll see you next time. Have a great end to your weekend.